Welcome to the Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, John Travolta, JMails24, Unamento, M, Iron26, Endless, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fiber Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealons, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dang. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He was on Joe Rogan 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, pseudo.
I remember when I stopped listening to Joe Rogan a few years ago. When he started getting pro censorship, I had to dip out. Oh, he's got a lot of bullshit on space. Brian Cox.
Space? What space?
Joe Scott is the guy I was talking about. He got
Now
1.52
you're clear.
million subs.
What did you just do, Gene, to get clearer? Because you just went up like
Not a goddamn thing.
Okay.
You sound low at points. I got this what do you call them, over ear Bose noise canceling headphones, and they just have the left the little dongle here.
Well, you didn't sound low yesterday, Nathan.
I sounded low yesterday.
No, you didn't. I'm glad you didn't sound low. So you could deal with that crew over there. Well done.
I sound fine. I'm perfectly leveled up.
Sound like you're making coffee.
No, if he was making coffee, you'd hear the counters banging.
You're talking about me? Can you not hear me at all?
Yes, we can hear you.
But
you started out low.
You sound
Just
pretty
Gene,
good now.
just turn me up locally on Discord. You can just click on me and turn me up, or anybody else for that matter.
Everyone else sounds fine.
Yeah, but you turning me up affects nobody other than you being able to hear me if I'm quiet. Likewise, I can just turn you up if I can't hear you, which I've done.
Anywho, how old do you got to be to start liking coffee?
I think my ears are blocked or something. I can't quite hear what's going on properly. I'm sure of it.
He said, how old do you have to be to start liking coffee?
How old? I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. I don't know what's going on. I was up very late editing videos.
Want to talk about my car? It's drinking oil.
Must be thirsty.
Put 5 quarts in Saturday, bone dry today.
Ooh, that's
no. That doesn't sound good.
Ooh.
Where's it all going?
Yeah,
You
I have no idea.
You must notice. Jeez, that's a lot of oil to lose.
That's the whole thing. I'm not seeing anything.
It's got to be going somewhere.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's going in the engine.
Well,
We have that trouble in.
you hope it's
we
going
have
in the
that
engine.
trouble.
No,
Sorry.
parts it's not supposed to go into.
Check the radiator. Check the radiator.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, Tent.
Good morning.
Hey, Jay.
I love the
You
optimism.
guys ever thought?
Straight to head
You guys
gasket,
ever
right?
thought-
Check the radiator. Just talk about optimism.
Yep. Don't you guys just love the intricacies of an engine? It just still amazes me.
Yeah, it is a feat. I'm not going to lie. Especially some modern engines, if you see the intricacies of how they work.
It's like the human
especially
body
like the
somewhat.
Mazda transmissions.
The skill is actually the other way around, as strange as it may sound. Simplifying it to make it lighter and work better.
So is the
But it's
oil
still
like a human being's
It's
blood?
still a combustible engine, though. It's still
Wow.
combustible.
Me and Gina colliding. So
Yeah, combustion engines race.
Is there an implosion engine?
Implosion. I don't know about that.
so is oil like the blood of a car?
Keeping it cool. Keeping it lubricated. Doing a lot of different things.
Hey, Nathan.
Yes.
I've got to drive off in a minute. I've got about half an hour drive. I've literally just wrote a couple of words down, which was in my head from yesterday. I'm going to read them out for you, and then
Go.
you could always read them in the after show if you want me to.
Sure.
Right. Hi, I'm an angle, and you can use me. I'm not fussy angle. I'll let anybody use me. I love being measured and plotted on maps. Joiners use me to fill in gaps. In navigation, I save people's lives. I was even used to create a cutting angled knife. Without the angle, there would be no degree. I'm the first step in trigonometry. Angles created numbers as well, you see. So without the angle, where would you be? You'd probably be lost in your boat out at sea. So Bev, try thinking and stop being a jerk. We've just explained to you how the angle works.
That was
Very
great.
good,
That
man.
was great. I love it.
Whenever
Very
you
good.
said angle to make a knife, I thought you said they even made me to create a lie. I thought you were gonna say create a lie, but you said angle a knife.
Do you know why I put that in there? Because my partner's just bought. She wanted a knife for cutting the bloody turkey up, and she bought. And it's actually arrived today from Amazon, and it was an angled cutting knife. And it just thought, oh, angles are even used for making knives.
They said I was created to create the globe lie or something like that.
That's a good one too.
I would ask one minor alteration, just so it's not about Bev. If you can make it a general,
Why?
yeah.
Why?
Why not make it? Because then it's like a love letter.
Yeah, I see your point.
Nah, we like the intimacy. We like this. Put a stamp on it.
Yeah, that's the word. It's not like a love letter. That was a much more appropriate word.
Dear John.
No, it's too intimate. The word.
Well, it was directed towards him. Come on.
I know. But it's a general
Can you
thing,
hear me?
right? For anybody. As soon as you make it about an individual, okay, I'll rephrase that. Don't do anything that you don't want to do. I was sucked out of the moment a little bit when it was made about Bev. Had it been generally about a guy in general or a girl in general, it wouldn't have sucked me out of the moment in that particular instance. Just my
Well,
opinion.
everyone knows
I know.
Eminem hates his mom, but I'm sure she's a lovely person.
Yeah, no, I know what you could. So he said it's so. Let me just do that. I've only read this one, so it's. I usually read them a few times before I read them. So without the angle, where would you be? You'd probably be lost in your boat out at sea. So let's all try thinking and stop being jerks.
Perfect.
We've just
Perfect.
We've just explained the angle and how it works.
Oh, much, much better. That's brought such a big smile to my face. Yes.
I agree
I'll
with
just
you,
make
Nathan. That made it perfect.
Well, it was subtle. Now it's not a love letter to Bev. It's a subtle hint is in.
Scribble it out.
That's perfect.
Flat
So
Earth poetry.
it's still
What
going.
fucking corner of the
still
internet
going.
is this?
I feel bad now. I shouldn't alter the art. It's not my place. I'm really sorry.
No.
It wasn't my
No, but
place to
that was good.
criticize.
That was good because it's still going directly to Bev, but it's let's all try thinking. Very good.
Yeah, but who am I? It's like standing behind Picasso. Do you think you should put a brushstroke there?
You
No,
are
it's right.
Nathan
Nathan,
Oakley,
it's right.
1980.
Maybe,
It's right, mate. It's right.
maybe
It's
you
right.
could
It's how
whisper
it
in
should
his ear.
So do we all get?
So people try thinking and stop being jerks. We've just explained to you all how the angle works. I'll just read it one more time. Hi, I'm an angle and you can use me. I'm not a fussy angle. I'll let anybody use me. I love being measured and plotted on maps. Joiners use me to fill in the gaps. In navigation, I save people's lives. I was even used to create a cutting angle knife. Without the angle, there would be no degree. I'm the first step in trigonometry. Angles created numbers as well, you see. So without the angle, where would you be? You'd probably be lost in your boat at sea. So people, try thinking and stop being jerks. We've just explained to you all how the angle works. All right.
Awesome. Absolutely brilliant. They all are. They always are.
I like it better when you said let's all try thinking.
Got a talent. There's no denying it. Brings a smile to my face
Can I
every
get a
time.
sound check?
We got you, 10.
A tenth.
Okay, Nathan, I got 4 slides of Master D.
Okey-doke.
Back to the
Starting
old
with the
days.
one that's an angle with intercept labelled at the top, yeah?
Yeah, but let's just stare at that for a minute. And line of position. The azimuth, which is direction, measured from north
Can we do the
clockwise.
10-second Elon Musk one?
Hold on.
Height observed.
Can you guys not hear tenth?
I'm in the middle of talking.
Yeah, maybe there's an issue.
Height calculated.
Hold on a second, tenth. I'm really sorry. Can you guys in Discord not hear tenth?
I can hear him.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay. Can you pop yourselves on mute just for a second? Do you want to start again, tenth?
Yeah. So, sorry, I'm a little sick. So the intercept method, also known as the Mark St. Hilaire method. HC, calculated altitude. HO, observed altitude. HC greater than HO, line of position away from the GP of the sun, in this case, or star, as you see there. There's 2 circles of equal altitudes because of the correction that has to be made, because you're assuming a position that you think you're at, and then you look at the site reduction tables, HO249 and HO229, another version, that already pre-calculates your sun's azimuth and angle for you. And you compare where you think you are to what it is based on the azimuth and the time of day and so forth from the books. Now, let's just go to someone in chat, which is 3 things that I picked up. Please go to the first one.
Mark G. You flatards have no nautical almanac
Yes.
and no site reduction tables for a flat Earth. No way to plot intercepts either. Full stop. Winning. Smiley face, smiley face, smiley face.
Okay, yeah. Before we move on to second and his third, let me comment. You flatards have no nautical almanac and no site reduction tables for flat Earth. We saw in the previous picture that's an angle measurement. Sextant is an angle measuring device. I'm sorry, but everything about the globe was borrowed from a flat Earth elevation angle measurements. But for some reason, they like to think that the nautical almanac is theirs and it only works on a globe, which we're about to debunk. Next one, please.
Mark G. again. Altitude intercept. None of you can understand how to calculate it.
We'll see about that. Next one.
Same guy, Mark G. You can't determine the GP of a celestial body using a sextant. Alright, Steal Your Thunder. Go ahead.
This is really unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. So this is a guy named Mark G who should be given a warning and then forever banned because he's just disseminating lies. Now let's go to the picture, the first thing. So height observed and height calculated. The height calculated is from the books, HO249 or 229. It's pre-calculated, meaning as long as you give the day, the hour, the time, and the azimuth, that angle of the star has to be there. But you on the boat did height observed with the sextant. And so what you realize is there's a distance between where it should be and where you thought it was. And that's where you make the correction. So it could be 4 nautical miles, it could be 9 nautical miles, because you have the log from the day before, you've been keeping your books. So you're pretty close to where you're going to be near at. So you say, I think I'm here. So you get your map and your chart and you make that 90 there, that straight line, which they say, because you zoom in on the circle is straight. That's why they got 90 there. And then the direction of the star. And so you say, I've got this angle, okay, in degrees and minutes. And then you go to the book and say, well, for that star on this day at this time with that azimuth, it's actually 4 nautical miles in the direction of the star. So your angle is going to read different than the one you thought you were at. So this is the intercept method that puts you right where you should be based on pre-calculated star locations with GPS on the Earth. And guess, as a nuance, they're pre-calculated with your eyeball on the water already. There's no dip correction. It's already, I mean, you're doing dip correction with your HO because that's the one you did with the sextant. But when you go to the height calculated, it's already assuming your eyes are on the level surface of the water. So we do know what celestial navigation teaches. We do know that it requires angles, Mark G. Both those are angles with a baseline. Where's your curved Earth? You can't have an elevation angle with a curved baseline, Mark G. It's just a correction method, Mark G. The intercept method doesn't debunk anything. It actually proves everything. I'm done.
Did you want to add something, AI Overlord? You're flashing away. I didn't know if that's just because you're causing a bit of feedback or if you wanted to add something. Oh, no, clearly not. Hope John tries to join again. He tried to join, but you were in the middle of your presentation. I didn't want to click away. I'm sure he'll join, or hopefully try and join. Excellent presentation. Thank you very much, 10th. And yes, we get a lot of numbers.
It's right from their books. We're just reading it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to say it's all from their books. We're reading it right out of the books, which have to contradict because they have to stick a dingleberry in there. I don't know why the ballers keep getting it confused with the dingleberry. That's in there to confuse them. But everything about it requires a flat plane.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, Righteous Force, Refracted Curvature, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, hello.
Let's get it on.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good
Hey,
morning.
hello, everybody.
Hello. Should I do a shameless plug for the show that we did yesterday, given the amount of grief I got to get it all published? Hence I'm not on camera, because I look and feel like crap. I was up till about 3 in the morning editing videos, because several people voted that it was extremely advisable to get it out immediately, where I was like, no, I want to get it out to the members first. And they were like, no, it must be published now. There we go. It got published, but it just at my detriment, so hence I'm looking like crap. I'm feeling like crap, but there we go. I'll plug it because it was a lot of work. So out on my main channel is an edited version of a discussion between Bev Trythinking and FED. So there's a few of his sycophants hanging around, along with him and his panties being in a twist over a claimed ad hom that we'd used. He wanted to figure out what we were having an issue with. So he explained his nonsensical assertions of not being able to do things with angles. And it transpired halfway through the discussion that he was basically lying through his back teeth about what he did and didn't know, because he confessed or disclaimed to 10th Man much earlier how his knowledge of the use of an angle could gain you your latitude position, or your latitude. And he just lied about it, just played dumb, kept doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down on his assertion that you can't do anything with an elevation angle. I won't use the language he uses, but that's the essential key of token of what he was asserting, and it's nonsense. So we took it apart. The reason for his nonsense is to undermine us. There's no other reason. He said it to me personally. It hasn't been published, so can't talk too much about the material that Bev records on his show. He's more than welcome to keep his material and do whatever the hell he likes with it. It's his, but he hasn't published it, so I can't criticize him in regards to his assertions to me personally about not being able to do anything with an elevation angle, while I'm explaining to him how you use it at sea to find your position if you're lost, subsequently saving lives. But there we go. So that nonsense was done away with. And yeah, that's out as a clip on what would it be, my main channel. And then just because of the way the scheduling fell, it's the main, however long it is, nearly 3 hours I believe, show over on my second channel. So if you're not already subscribed to my second channel, go and subscribe, and you can watch that full show unedited. Or if you're less inclined to spend several hours in front of a show, which is perfectly reasonable, you can spend 12 minutes in front of the abridged version, or whatever you want to call it, the edited version, which is on my main channel. If you're watching that live now, obviously don't go and watch it now, but after the fact, go and check it out. It's called simply Bev Trythinking versus FED. So you can go and check that out. Shameless plug. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon
Well, you'll be
forming.
happy to know. Hang on.
No, we're going to full go. Let's just decide now.
You'll be happy to.
Let's decide now. If we're going to forego housekeeping
No,
to
I
discuss
just want to
yesterday.
tell you.
I just don't want to constantly be interrupting with housekeeping questions.
No.
If we're going
We're not going to forego housekeeping. I'm trying to say, I knew you were going to be tired, so I gave you an easy Brian Cox reaction video. So when you're ready, it's going to be an easy one. Short.
Okay. But you don't want to forego housekeeping. I agree. I want to do it. We haven't done it for days.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay. Let's try and remain reasonably concise, but we do want to get through it. Okay. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon? I'd try it without laughing.
No.
Hold on, not that concise. I've got to get it out without laughing once. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No. Next.
Well, if they're gonna assume a sphere and say it's our reality, they're gonna need that measurement, and it needs to be geometric, and it's not. It's all optical. It's all. I mean, their only excuse is refraction every time, which is like a get out of jail card for them. Yeah, there were normal refraction. Lots of things happen with it, but they got 7/6R refraction, which is assuming the globe already. So everything about this is one little magic trick.
Yeah, they did used to claim the horizon was the Earth curve, but then that's been debunked with the black swan photography, which disproves that totally. So that's been debunked 2020.
Is there any evidence that
I
level...
wouldn't even say at this point.
Sorry.
I'm going to drop and rejoin. I got a delay. I'll be back.
Any evidence that level is not horizontal?
Well, I was putting some fencing up the other day and using a water level to get horizontal. So I don't know how you could understand that level wasn't horizontal in real life scenarios, especially.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No evidence whatsoever.
Any evidence?
Once they beg the question of a presupposed
Go ahead.
once they beg the question of a presupposed spherical Earth, then they can make up stuff like what's at the center, but they have no evidence.
And what is a molten iron core anyway, Tent? What would that look like?
Molten iron core, just molten iron, I guess, but
Yeah, what are you asking, Neil?
I don't know.
I mean, what does it look like? Like a pit in the center of a peach that's molten iron? Is that what they're saying it is?
You've seen the high school books, right, Neil?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I like
Not for a long time.
it's just making stuff up, Neil.
Okay, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No,
Why? Well, ho. Haven't
They
you
don't-
read your high school books, Nathan? It tells you 93 million miles away.
Yeah, but that value needs R, and we've debunked R.
also tells you molten iron core.
Also needs R, technically speaking.
That's right. It needs R.
It looks
Where'd you
about
get
as far
that
as the
R?
moon.
Say again, John? One more time, John? Refractive curvature, John?
You can measure the angle to the sun, an elevation angle. That's quite useful.
Very. Go on, John, one more time.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, did you not?
I think it was AI.
It was G. I said that it looks about as far as the moon.
Yeah. They look about the same size. Yes. Okay, that's really a plug, really, isn't it, for the... I'm not even going to attempt it. Bad Moon Shadow. I was going to belt it out, but I think that'd sound too bad.
Shadow.
What?
Belt it out.
No, Gene was talking about the radius what the black swan would extend to the moon.
Yeah, no, I get that, but
Me and Brian was talking about.
I just used it as a segue anyway, just because recently we've been talking about the moon and moon dials and how the full moon needs no correction in terms of its time ability. And if
I'm
you're
not
going
that smart. I didn't ask that.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I didn't understand that, but me and Brian was talking yesterday.
the bad moon shadow doesn't deal with the distance to the sun as much as its size and the moon's size and the shape of the world we stand on. It might be another housekeeping question.
I absolutely think it'll turn into a housekeeping question,
Ooh.
which is why I wanted to drop it in just whenever I heard anything about the moon. It's like, right, that's an opportunity to drop in bad moon shadow. So check it out, Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. It's all time stamped up because it's a very lengthy. It's a bit like the introduction to the Black Swan back in 2020. So it's a lengthy, detailed description of not only the progress of the argument so far, but how the argument all ties up with Aristophanes and the original globe Earth assertions, how they pad out, how it's debunked with the bad moon shadow. So check that out. It's on Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. There's a, like I say, time stamped up. So if you go to the comments, I can't remember who to give them credit, but somebody went in as requested by me on the show when it was being made to time stamp up the key parts so that you don't have to sit through a 3-hour show. You can just go to the main parts, and they're relatively concisely time stamped as well. So go and check that out if you want to know what we're talking about, because obviously it's not just a 2-minute thing to drop in. It's not been developed into a housekeeping yet, but I want it to be. I really do. It's got to be. I just don't want it to fade away, and that's why we've got housekeeping, right? So we never, lest we forget the gas pressure without a container argument. Any evidence thereof?
Hold on, Nathan, you forgot the main thing. Why are you telling him to go to quick timestamp? If you listen to the whole thing, there's this new pop star with an amazing voice called Quantum Eraser singing in the beginning. You gotta check it out.
In the interest of balance, I would suggest you don't do that.
Come on, he did a good job with that.
And when Brian gets here, I think he has a couple of, me and him bounced a few ideas back and forth yesterday, but I think he has a couple formulations of the question he was wanting to run by everybody.
I just want to publicly apologise to my panel. So yesterday, whilst getting annoyed with Bev, it's very difficult when you are actually annoyed as opposed to just hamming it up for dramatic sake. Well, yesterday, Bev was genuinely irritating, and my annoyance and frustration with him at various points of the show was taken out on my panel when I'm telling them to shut up and swearing at them. So I just want to publicly apologise to all of you, right? And the guy, Rob Keane, who's very much on our side, was just probably trying to get something in, but because I'm full of rage and fury, I just took it out on whoever was talking, including my own panel, a guy who's very supportive of the show. And while, yeah, we did get to the end and I could defend my rather disgusting actions towards my own panel and supporters of the show, I'd rather just apologise and say, okay, right, my excuse is that it's hard to separate it when you're really angry. So that's my excuse, but there is no excuse. I'm sorry. So I just want to do that publicly now before I forget. And before anybody can respond, shout out to Godzilla37.
Now that you've accepted fault, I can begin my attack on you.
Oh, God, here we go. Baller tactics.
Yeah, I had to wait until you admitted.
That's a very interesting point, right?
Why?
Oh, I can't remember who it was. There was a certain celebrity, I think it was Johnny Depp to that model from the 80s, late 80s and 90s. British girl, Kate Moss. And his explanation, right? Let me just read out Godzilla37's chat because my kid's getting annoyed that she can't play Minecraft. Although Bev is very pedantic, to say the least, his point was in context of strict geometry. If the teacher only gave you one single angle, say 23 degrees, you could do nothing with that alone. No, I agree, Godzilla, but we contextualize it with things like the word elevation prior to the angle to describe precisely what you're doing, and have contextualized it on multiple occasions to Bev about it being in regards to navigation and measurement of elevation angles and areas of equal elevation. So yes, once you oversimplify it in an attempt to undermine us, then that's going to get addressed, and we'll point out again that we're not just talking about, quote, an angle in an oversimplified attempt to undermine us. But yeah, if you want to be pedantic, yeah, I suppose you could weasel out of it like that way that Bev has attempted to.
Bev knows this.
I can establish my longitude with an angle. Quote, Bev's try thinking.
Okay.
Latitude.
Go on.
Was it latitude instead of longitude?
Yeah, it's latitude. But here's the thing. You know what we're using it for. The sextant
Exactly.
for navigation, from GP to GP of the luminary as well as the GP of the observer to have a fix, to know where you are when there's no landmarks. You know the context in which we're saying it. And then to oversimplify it to the minutest point and say, that's the way we've been contextualizing it for over 2 years? Are you kidding me? Every time we said it, it had to do with navigation. So there's no way to separate the angles from navigation if you've been following the show with slides and text and books and videos. Everyone's contributed, done videos, and then to just say you can't do anything with an angle when you know what we're doing it for and with. I don't understand. It's like
That's the
the
frustrating
greatest
part.
flat earth proof there ever was.
That's the frustrating part. I agree. He knows exactly what we're doing here, and he's trying to undermine it. That's what's annoying about it.
I mean, if someone presented the greatest proof for something, we'd be sharing it.
Exactly.
That's about being that's about having the whole truther experience is to seek the truth.
But yeah, again, a shameless plug. You can check out the abbreviated version or the edited version on Nathan Oakley 1980 if you don't want to sit through 3 hours of this discussion where we basically prove Bev's a liar. So, if you want to check that out, feel free. That's a shortened version. There'll be another one that's out for members only. I'll release that one at the weekend, where one of his white knights attempted to back up and affirm his nonsensical assertion that you can do nothing with an angle. So he got his ass handed to him as well. That's SE Montreal, but that'll come out at the weekend probably for the general public. But if you remember, you can watch that now. Become a Nathan Oakley 1980 member if you want to see it early.
When are we up in the housekeeping questions?
yes.
Are we
Well,
done?
with all due,
No, I know you can
hang on,
hear me
without-
now.
You guys
Without
hear that,
all
Eli?
I've been
Hello?
trying to
Hello?
talk
Can you
for
hear
20
Eli?
minutes.
Go ahead, Eli.
Yeah, I've been trying to get in for 20 minutes. I thought someone would say, "Oh, hey, Eli, my bad," but I figured maybe my headphones suck, so I disconnected them.
Something going on
morning.
with the audio. I don't know what it is today. It's either me not being
Is
sharp
it
enough. I don't know. Something's
I
going
didn't
on.
hear
Is
you,
it-
Eli.
Go ahead anyway.
is it bad still?
No,
I
you
might
sound
have
better
to
than
come out
ever.
of the Discord.
Surprisingly. Yes.
Oh yeah, I had to disconnect my headphones. I'm just tired of them. Like there's nothing I can do but get new ones. um, yeah, I just don't understand how, not even how, why people would defend Bev after the clarity of yesterday. I mean, yeah, okay, maybe we can be assholes about how we address it, but I mean, we're justifiably mad, and we're saying the reason we're mad is because the argument's here being undermined by somebody trying to simplify our position. Somebody who we've explained our position to, and that's why we're mad. So moving away from focusing on that, what exactly is the argument that you're supporting them in? Because that's what Adam was trying to get to when he was asking him what specifically was it that QE said that you take issue with, so we can address it openly and publicly, so that you can be justified in coming here. And then if there's something to be apologized for, then obviously that would be reasonable. But did the conversation ever get there? No.
That's a good point,
So-
Eli. I was waiting for that.
But in regards to your first part of the question, I can't divine their motivations. I can just show that they're wrong. Like with anything or anyone that comes here, claims being anything, you can just attack them based on their merits, and that's it. Obviously, if there's a personal issue that they want to go through, like Adam was trying to drag out of him, it's like, yeah, well, we need to get down to the nitty-gritty of what it is you take issue with. Now, we never got there. It was just, well, it's just the general way of on the video. Well, what specifically? Well, just go and watch the video. Well, yeah, we made the video. That's the kind of nonsense that we have to deal with in that regard. But who cares? And same goes for motivation. Who cares? It's like, this is what they're saying. You can't do anything with an angle. Now, if you have to take 3 hours to get them to the point of absurdity where one of their own claims and understandings, in this case, the acquisition of your latitude with Polaris, then that's using an angle. And something that Bev has discussed, and it was embarrassing and humiliating for him for 10th to come along and go, hey, Bev, do you remember when you told me on the show about getting your latitude with just an angle? That completely obliterates his attempt to undermine our arguments with elevation angle measurements. He's oversimplified them to the point where he's contradicting himself. But that's what he's prepared to do in just an attempt to undermine us. To the point where his own stupid nonsense that he definitely understands in regards to, an area of equal elevation when measuring an angle to Polaris. That's what it is. He'll just deny that. No, you can't do anything with an angle. Why? Because we're talking about angles and using them in our arguments specifically. All right. Well, gee, thanks. No, well, once you come here to moan about us calling you a wanker for that, you'll get told exactly why you're a wanker, and your wankery will be pointed out to an audience with the way it contradicts your own confessions that you hid and lied to the audience about when we were asking you about what you understood about Polaris and its use in mapping. Bev played dumb, in other words, lied. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, you do. You specifically outlined it to 10th man, you're lying. You know what?
Yep.
Oh
No, he's
my
a liar.
gosh! If anyone out there is interested for some reason, I know we got cultural fans out there that love me and chocolate, right? If you watch Meg Thee Stallion and Tory Lane's trial, the interesting thing is the only time you can completely determine that anyone is lying on the stand is when they're being asked by the defendant's lawyers questions and they're like, oh, I don't know. But then when the prosecutor's up, they answer everything. And it relates to the same exact audio or the same exact video footage. You're looking at the same exact thing, but when you're being cross-examined by the defendant, all of a sudden you don't know. I don't know. And it's like, Bev was in here. He must have said, I don't know, like 100 times. I just think that's interesting. Sorry.
101.
He's a liar.
On this specific subject, any start that again. Any evidence you can get an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Negative. It's an impossibility. Need a flat baseline. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, on a ball, you could do fuck all with an angle. But not on a flat earth.
You beat me to it,
Nothing
Arwen.
wrong with it.
Did you guys see the screenshots that I posted earlier? Probably not. So I'm
Don't
gonna
be like
go
that.
ahead and post. Huh? What?
Probably not.
Because it was
Eli.
Bloody
yesterday.
martyr.
It was yesterday. I'm gonna have to look up in Master B to find it.
I mean, in reality, no, I didn't. But that's not the point.
But most of us do see them. I just haven't been in there for a while, so I personally haven't seen them.
A quick shout out to Chris Berry, I believe it was. I recognise the thumbnail. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, it was Chris Berry. Just from the thumbnail. He says he has never been a flat earther. Bev lies. Thank you very much for the super chat, Chris Berry.
See, Chris Berry had came in when I went there, and they really harassed him. So I got no love lost for that crew over there. And Emma, you know what you could do.
Yeah, again, I don't want to divine the motivations of these Muppets. It's just show them where they're wrong. You know, in regards to Emma, she came in and just threw a load of ad homs out. And when I tried to detail what an ad hom was to her, she just rumpused, just talked straight through the middle and accused or justified her actions by saying, I'm just doing what you're doing. And when I attempted to explain, no, a justification for calling somebody stupid is demonstrating them as stupid, which is what we were doing. She wouldn't accept it. She was like, no, I just want to use my excuses to throw out personal attacks without in any way addressing the argument. But there we go. That was her input into the discussion. Not very constructive. Another shout out to Chris Berry. Thank you very much, Chris Berry. Bev lie stinking. Yes, that's Bev. Good one. I should really read these before I read them, if you know what I mean. Okay. We did get the gas pressure.
Back to housekeeping.
Yeah, I was going to say, we did get the gas pressure question in, but not quite. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without a container?
It's an impossibility. You need the gas to press against something. That's why it's pressure, right?
Indeed. Godzilla 37 says, well, Arwen was right on one thing in the debate. Admit you're wrong when you are. Yeah, I think when I was listening to it back when it got premiered only a couple of hours after it was recorded, which is very unusual, I said that when he pointed it out in the chat. When Arwen said that in the show, in the chat, I was like, yes, absolutely, beautifully put, Arwen. Again, me being full of rage, sometimes you miss some of these gems that Arwen comes out with, which is a shame. But I listened and heard in the recording, I was like, yeah, Arwen's right on point. That's really all it boiled down to, and it was the most not concise. He was in with only that point at the moment he said it. He's like, I'm going to interrupt everything to make this point. All it boils down to is admit when you're wrong. That's it. Have a bit of humility. That's it.
Yeah, he hit the nail right in the head. Definitely.
Right. It's always been his issue, and now it came to point. Now he was put on the spot over it, and all he did was just try to avoid it. That's all he was doing.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Where were we in housekeeping? Any scientific evidence?
You ended off with gas pressure.
Did we get an answer?
Yeah, I said no. Can't have gas pressure out of container. Next.
Hold on. Oh, I thought we were on the. Are we still on elevation angles?
Always.
Yeah. All right. I'm posting them again. There's just 3 random screenshots that I found.
Oh, we never look at that shit from you.
It's in the middle.
Okay, I got it.
Let's at least chew on it for a while.
I got it. It's up.
Sorry. So check it out.
Did you want to comment on it? I've got it up for the audience.
Okay, yeah. So the first one, it talks about ballistics, right? Okay. So it says in ballistics, the elevation is the angle between the horizontal plane and the axial direction of the barrel of a gun, mortar, or heavy artillery. Well, what do you know? And there it has an a right triangle showing you all of the math and whatnot. So the next one, when I typed in what are angles of elevation and depression used for, because Bev said you could do fuck all with an angle, after I thought we were making some headway, when he said, well, you can do stuff with it, but then he, doubled down later on. So it says angles of elevation are an angle that is measured upwards from the ground or horizontal line. Angles of depression are angles measured downwards from the horizontal. These angles can be used to find the horizontal and vertical distance of one object from another. Yep. So the last one, or is that the same one that I posted? Yeah. So yeah, pretty much. I can't find the third one right now.
Did you want me to put the third one up?
I'm looking for it, but right now,
No, that's okay. No, cool. You got your point in during yesterday's discussion as well. And I've got to be honest, the ballistics one I hadn't heard before. I must swipe that because I like when someone's like, well, anything similar to this. You can't do anything with an angle, for instance, right? It's nice to go and dig out. I don't know, it's probably up to about 20, 25 citations now detailing what an elevation angle does. But I don't think I've got the ballistics one, so I'd like to add that. So, very handy. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
If you hang on. If you watch the World Cup, all they did was comment on the football players picking the right angle as they shot the ball into the goal or made passes. The angles are used all the time.
Yes, there's lots you can do with an angle. And you can hear the beautiful poetry of one deck in the pre-show in that exact regard. So, yeah.
Well, you only say that when you're talking to a baller and you're trying to win an argument. Sometimes you just have to lie.
He didn't say sometimes you have to lie, although you basically just almost verbatim quote what Bev said to justify him being so wrong. Well, I was saying it to Ruhif. What? So fundamentally being wrong or lying is okay? What?
As long as it's to a baller, right?
I don't know.
I don't particularly
Right,
like
but
that point because
doesn't it just mean that if he thinks like that, that it's not for him even about trying to figure out what reality is. It's just about being right in the moment.
Well, Adam
Apparently
summarised
that's
that, didn't
more
he?
important to him than
about truth.
actually building long-term cohesive arguments then.
That was at the end. Adam summarised it. It's like, what is your game? Because it's not about truth. You're demonstrating people as liars. You know, you say, "Oh, why is it that you've reduced our very coherent, complex dissemination of what is relatively simple once you've got your head around it? That's celestial navigation. Why are you undermining it by reducing it to what you can and can't do with just a mere angle? When angles are very useful in the first instance, so that's a stupid argument to begin with. But the only reason it's being presented is because of what we're doing. I mean, it's just sad.
Lest we forget, refracted curvature went on a debate show, said you can have it all. I just have two questions for you. And Ruhif had it all, got to say what he had to say and everything else. And John, refracted curvature, said, well, how'd you measure that? Was that an elevation angle? So why didn't John, well, let me put it this way. Why did John use the elevation angle and say you can have the rest of your Narnia fantasy globe world? I just need this because this is how it's done. And why would someone say to Ruhif, you can do F all with it? When John uses this killer point and it destroys the globe as a surface you can navigate on. Because the globe is curved and you need a baseline.
Okay. I know we haven't got all the way through housekeeping, but we've done the majority of it, and we're going to cover a bit of Brian Cox. Oh, it's on a... Of course it is, it's Brian Cox. It's on a British show called This Morning, which is terrestrial UK TV. So we're going to get into this, and hopefully it's relatively easy going, because I'm quite knackered. We'll see. We'll see how we get on. In the first few seconds, I'm just going to level it up, guys, so just give me a sec. I'm doing this cold.
Forces of nature.
Yeah.
So in what areas? What are you looking at?
Well, the idea is that if you look at the world that we see, the...
What's this titled? Sorry, let's just get that dealt with. So this is Brian Cox reveals why the world is round on This Morning. Okay, cool.
green leaves, the blue skies.
Oh, I should ask as well. Is there anything you wanted to preempt this with as you took it out 10th?
Yeah, look for the potato illustration towards the end.
Wait, did you say round? I thought the world was spherical. What is it with this round now?
I think they're just.
They don't like specificity.
I think they're just disking us, Neil.
That was my thought, Neil, as well. As soon as Nathan read the title,
Why are they not saying sphere? Why round? Why this ambiguous word which does not necessarily relate to a sphere?
I said that about Bill Nye yesterday. Like, it actually kind of annoys me that these people will all say, "Oh, it's round, it's round, it's round." Yeah. I got quarters that are round. They're also flat. They're not spherical. Like, why don't you guys try to be a little bit more specific?
You think
There
it
it
should
is.
admit it?
Let me answer it. The chocolate did it for me.
think
I was
it's an
waiting for
admission?
someone. I was waiting for someone to do it. In other words, let it go, let it play out rather than explain why it's done that way. So what Chocolate's just done is offered up, albeit via a very loose simile or whatever you call it, a claim. So we're talking about Earth. It's there in the title. Earth is round. Why say round? Why not say spherical? So you're affirming their position. That's the first bit, right? So you're saying spherical rather than them. Okay, that's bad. Secondly, you offered up an example of something that is round but flat like a coin. Ergo, Chocolate's now on the back foot because he's going to damn well defend that as his Earth that he is reifying because I've decided that's how this is going to play out. So in my humble opinion, it's done to put you on the back foot, reaffirm their claim, or, what's the word, clarify their claim for them, and offer up your repositioning of what they've stated, putting you in a false dichotomy, should they choose to take what you've just gifted them, Chocolate. That's what I think.
Well, I could come to, with Chocolate here and say that in celestial navigation, they use the great circle called the equatorial plane, and it's round and it's flat. So Chocolate, you got backup.
Yeah, bro.
Word directed to me. Godzilla37 says, the best the globe has got is someone named Cox. Kind of says it all for me. I don't understand. I don't really follow.
That's a cable network out here. Keep going.
So just really quick, I'm on Facebook, right? And this guy says, the only truth in the evidence I've witnessed from both sides of the flat earth versus globe argument is that we've all been lied to by whoever runs our world to ensue chaos will keep everyone blinded from whatever the truth is. It doesn't seem that either side cares about proving the truth and merely wants to argue, and other side lacks intelligence. So I said,
That's not true.
this is a prime opportunity to share the live show and tell him, well, things are slightly different over here. So I went to YouTube and I typed in Nathan Oakley and realized, wow, he's live right now, and I can't even find his live even when I type his name in. So on the back of what I just said about Facebook, the thing that I now want to highlight is that perhaps you refer to yourself as Nathan Oakley 1980 at all times, so that when people are listening and they tell people about you, they tell people about you as if your name is your YouTube moniker.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah, absolutely. That's why it's like that. There's so many Nathan Oakleys, right?
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, totally. Yeah, subscribe today to Nathan Oakley 1980.
Are we going to get around to what Brian Cox is saying?
Yeah.
Planets. All those things are telling you something about the deeper structure that underlies nature. So even life. So next week's is about the origin of life. So it's how did we, we feel living is a very special thing.
Okay, I don't follow where he's started. So if this is a discussion about why Earth is round, is he talking Big Bang? Maybe
he said planets, and he's getting, he's just greasing the skids.
Okay.
But it's a property of matter, of this stuff. The Earth was once just a dead world when it formed.
What? Says who? Who says it was a dead world when it was first formed? Why? Why is he making this assertion? I suppose we're only early doors, so.
Does he have any evidence of that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. As backed by what? But maybe he's about to get there.
Ago, and at some point, that matter came alive.
And you go to some really.
Excuse me? What? just matter spontaneously sprung into life? What's he babbling about?
What's the first law of thermodynamics?
Energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Energy and matter cannot be created or
Yeah,
destroyed.
energy and matter. Yeah, my bad.
Could I plug a show?
Your timing's terrible, but yeah, feel free.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. So, Dr. James Torr has an episode about abiogenesis where he rips Professor Wannabe Dave a new origin of life hole. It's great. He's committed himself to debunking all of Professor Dave's stuff.
And that is perfect.
The series ongoing right now, so it's just came out like this week.
Okay.
It's a
hold on. I don't understand. What's abiogenesis? Can you explain it to me, please? Because that's a very big word that I've never heard before.
It basically is in the word Genesis, bio-A, so Genesis from non-living things, so life from non-life. It's just, an idea that is what the, that paradigm that he just said needs. You have no life, then all of a sudden you have life. So how did that happen?
But didn't spontaneous generation, it was disproven in the 1500s, wasn't it?
What? Life can't poof itself into existence out of non-existence? That's not cool.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, so violation of the first law.
In some of QE's presentations, he has a part where he describes functional sequence specified complexity, and he examples it by describing a guy at a beach making a very, very complicated sand castle. Yeah? And the complexity that is involved with life is equivalent to a wave coming in while this guy's making his intricate sand castle. And the wave, with obviously sand in the water, delivers to the beach a 14-story skyscraper with a full ensuite for every apartment and a gym. That's the equivalent. Like life spontaneously poofing itself into existence with the most complicated and intricate details beyond most of our comprehension here today. Not all. But just out of nothing. So much more complicated than anything we could ever create as human beings. Just poofing itself into existence because a wave landed on the shore randomly. Yeah, total nonsense.
It's a 14-part series that AI is talking about. I think it's part 3 is out now. It's very good.
And part 3 is on Professor Dave.
No, all of it's going to be on Professor Dave. He rips them.
All of it.
Oh yeah, he's taking Dave on.
Okay, presumably he's not in any way affiliated with us. He's not flatty. He's just a guy taking apart Dave's nonsense, right?
No, he's not affiliated with us. He even mentions in one of his earlier videos, again, this is what I'm trying to say, how scientism has got in. He even mentions a reference to Galileo, how they were persecuting him. So,
isn't that interesting? So, just in case anybody from YouTube's watching, what you promote above us as flat earthers, as the preferred, trusted content, is bullshitters like Dave, who get pulled apart not by us, but the people around him as a complete bullshitter. But that's I'm not addressing YouTube anymore. In some ways, that kind of does raise the question of why is it that scummy idiots and scammers and charlatans get pushed to the top of the list? Dave is a complete farce, isn't he? He's lying about his accreditation in the first instance, and his own title is a bullshitter. But he's promoted to the top of the list, the biggest Billy bullshitter out there, the biggest faker, who's getting exposed left, right, and centre by all sides. He's the one that's promoted to the top of the anti-flat Earth lists. Isn't that interesting? That's the preferred content.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
Also,
it's interesting.
I'm just saying, right? At some point, it may be algorithmic, but at some point, there's been obviously a Congress-led change to how YouTube promoted flat Earth, and at that point, there was a line drawn, and any semblance of me reaching the top of lists for people, or just disappeared in an instant, right? But obviously, there's got to be a point that somebody says, right, well, what are we going to put in place? Because we've told Congress we'll be promoting favoured, reputable content. So if you're going to substitute one for the other, in terms of globe Earth rhetoric, I can think of, because I used to be a bloody globie, 100 different sources of material that could easily be slotted on top of flat Earth. In other words, like when Red Rhetoric was the main opposition. He had 20,000 subs, and Jaron had more. Jaron was the one benefiting from the subject, while the anti-flat earther, Red Rhetoric, certainly wasn't. I was kind of puzzled over that too. I was like, why is that the case? Surely the one with the mainstream rhetoric would be the guy that got all the support, not the other way around. But back in the day, it was Jaron that was, running away with the numbers, and not Red Rhetoric. Weird, right?
That's because that's the true public opinion.
Maybe,
nothing weird about that.
I'm going somewhere. I'm nearly there. So I can think of 100 different sources of material. I example one quite frequently where a guy just details how we felt about the moonrise. Bullshit imagery from a sky vacuum. Well, you could easily just slip all of that kind of stuff. The normies, the kind of guy that's attacking Dave. That's Professor Dave Explains YouTube channel, right? That guy, he's not an anti-flat earther, but he could easily be slotted into the list above us, right, when you search the subject. Could he not? Talking about globe.
Yep.
Instead, we get anti-flat earthers that are bullshitters. Now, that's the bit. I'm sure there's plenty of non-charlatan globies. That's my point.
I get your point now. So you're saying, why aren't there just average Joes or even, heliocentric sycophants that actually purport the actual globe Earth arguments? Why are there instead these anti-flat earthers propagated who don't even, go with the rhetoric that they should be pushing?
Yeah. Not only that, the ones that they get promoted the most are people like Dave, who literally, even his title is a lie, and he's exposed by other non-flatties as a liar. So it just seems to me, it kind of, you kind of raise your eyebrows, right? So the anti-flat Earth rhetoric comes from liars. That's how I see this.
Hey Nathan, I didn't catch who was the person making those videos. Can somebody tag that in the main chat of Discord?
Which videos? The guy that was doing a 13-part series on Dave?
Yeah. And also to piggyback off of what Elijah was saying earlier, I noticed that too. I typed in Nathan Oakley so that way I could listen on the YouTube. And I noticed that the only thing that came up was Nathan Oakley 80. Not even your Nathan Oakley 1980 came up. And I was like, what? So I literally had to type in 1980 with a space after Nathan Oakley, and then it showed you. I'm like, wow, they're who's in control of this? Why are they censoring you so much?
I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So that's the thing that I wanted to, because I kind of want to pile on, and there might be a bit of resistance from you, but allow me. So it would be maybe algorithmic, maybe one could justify this and go to sleep at night and go, it is what it is, but it's harder to justify when you add everything that you've said, Nathan, to the fact that it's not just flat Earth specifically, because they had a conversation about flat Earth. It happens to be all of the topics that are at the time a part of the magic trick, as you've termed the last 2 years, right? So whenever it's about that kind of stuff, the last 2 years, that's suppressed. Whenever it's about independent journalism, it just so happens that the CNNs and the NBCs of the world get propped up. Even, the subdivisions like I'm not going to give them any shine anyway. I'm not going to say their names. But then there are other channels that have had the same subscriber count since I've been watching them, but they're reporting what's actually in the source material that everybody has available. They're the only ones actually reporting on it, you know, without any bias. And they're the ones that are being suppressed. So it just seems like a massive effort to suppress truth. It's not just flat, it's just truth in general. That's kind of ominous.
Hi guys. There's also an author called Stephen C. Myers, the CIS, and similar to what QE did and what Brian Cox was just currently talking about. He talks about how complex life is, and it cannot be a mistake, and he gives a lot of good examples. The return of the God hypothesis might be worth a listen.
100 people watching. Should we move on a bit with Brian Cox? See if he goes anywhere with his round earth.
Yes, potato.
Destinations, and as you can see there from that tiny bit that we showed, I mean, it's beautiful. Like, it's beautifully shot, and you see some incredible things that you wouldn't necessarily have to get to see.
Yeah, I think that was the idea, to send film crews out, and it's sort of the way.
Send a film crew where? I've lost track of where this is going. Does anybody follow where he's going with this? Where are they talking about?
You're going to get there.
Way you mentioned David Attenborough earlier, the way that his programs work, where a film crew can go and for months even film something spectacular. And we saw that wave on that clip through the Amazon.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful, incredible tidal wave.
Just like he's having a little chit chat about stuff he's watched on the telly. Other than him asserting that you can create something from nothing, and life comes from just poofing into existence, where's the Earth being round bit?
Goes up the river, and you see in the film that someone spends their life surfing it. So there's kind of his whole thing is to wait for this wave and surf into the jungle of the Amazon.
How often does it come along?
This guy's an astrophysicist. Why is he talking about this?
He's warming up the crowd before he starts the BS. Come on.
Okay.
It comes when the moon and the sun are aligned. So I think it's about once every couple of months or something like that. The Pororoca is called.
Well, you're not, because they go out and they sit for months waiting for something to happen, the right thing to happen. You're not there all the time. You're in this.
I still can't keep track of what the hell they're talking about. They're being so vague.
He's talking about the moon and the sun lining up that causes a wave to come up the river, and people down there wait for this and they surf the river.
So he's asserting that the moon's gravity causes the tidal effect in the river.
What? Tidal bores aren't caused by the moon. They're topographical, based on just on the tides and the way the land's laid out. It's got so he's gonna, because we get tidal bores, therefore it's the moon that's doing it. And the proof is to describe having tidal bores, but not actually.
It's worse than that, brothers. What he's saying is that the heliocentric model with the sun and the moon being responsible for the water's motion is not just the cause of tides, it's the cause of adventure and joy and the wondrous feeling that comes over you after you've been waiting for 3 months for this one wave and you ride it like, yeah!
Okay, that's what I needed to click me into gear. This is a different type of wizardry. No, he's spot on. He's spot on. This is just a different type of wizardry. It's been a while since I've watched Cox. Just been overloaded with Tyson. Right. And lest we forget, right, we're talking about another very skilled magician here. So let's not forget that. But it's just, you've got to get a few maybe clips in before we get into the type of wizardry, right? But that is spot on.
I was going to ask Owen, the resident expert, what type of wizards have we got here, Owen? Because this is very different bullshittery to NDTs, isn't it?
Very.
Yeah.
Remember though, guys, things can only get better.
Well, it's a higher entertainment factor from Coxie, isn't it, you see?
Look how engaged Schofield is. I can see why too, because I'm doing that, screwing my face up, wanting to know more. So, props already. I like this. We'll have to do much more cocks. I'm already into this. This is good. Bit of mystery. Should we carry on?
This one less, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, that was the idea, to film these beautiful things. You can't, if I'm there, it's kind of, you can't spend all that time. We had different crews out at the same time filming things.
Right, so he segued between the beautiful stuff in the nature programme to what he's doing. Okay, right, now we're all clear. It's all starting to come into place.
And then the idea was to try and stitch it together. Essentially...
Stitch what together? Still don't know what he's really talking about. There's a cut there, so presumably this was a longer piece that they've edited for this YouTube clip, but I would assume this was a longer section than 3 minutes and 41 seconds, but they've just chunked out a bit there.
You asked the question, what is it? What's the biggest, the top...
Somebody's at my door. Can you guys talk amongst yourselves for a second?
I'm tired of the nonsense.
I know what he's doing is he's taking everyday life experiences and tying it to a spinning globe somehow. That's what he's getting you in that frame of mind.
Yeah,
and
he's eliminating God.
Well, of course, because they're all atheists. It's Big Bang. So it's just taking everyday life experiences, doing a nice story, talking the way he does, and the imagery. And so it just lulls you into the next thing he's going to lie to you about.
Wouldn't that be loose association?
Nothing in my life experience describes a spinning ball.
Oh, it gets
exactly chocolate.
Chocolate. He gets so crazy. The ball is a potato.
Right, but he's doing a loose association magic trick, right?
Yeah.
Where he describes two things, and then he allows you to put them together in your mind.
Yep,
correct.
It's funny though, that group he used to sing with, that song, Things Can Only Get Better, the group name was Dream. He's living in a bloody dream.
It's D-Ream.
Tallest mountain you could make on a planet like the Earth. What sets that? So you've got the Earth's gravity, which depends on its mass, really, how much stuff is in the Earth. It's pulling it.
I'm really sorry. Someone else is at my door. I don't know what the hell's going on. I think it's because people are sending presents and they want signing for. Can you talk amongst yourselves a second?
Yeah, he brought up the Earth's gravity. Don't we have a quote from him saying gravity's not a force?
Yeah, what is gravity? Did he prove gravity? Why are they talking about it like it's scientifically validated?
He also said mass.
I'm sure he claimed the Earth moved up, didn't it?
Yeah, that's true too. What is mass? Define mass.
Well,
yeah, that's a big one.
He's like we found out during the grade schools, they teach Newtonian mass attracts mass, gravity, but then later they tell you it's never there. It's not a real force, and the Earth is moving up. So he's speaking two sides of his mouth because I believe, if I'm not wrong, we have a quote from him about gravity not being a force.
There isn't really a force
at all.
Correct. There isn't really a force of gravity at all.
Okay, then replay the last 10, 15 seconds and see what he says.
The Earth's gravity, which depends on its mass, really, how much stuff is in the Earth. It's pulling it down, pulling it down. So you can imagine there's a force on the ground.
You can imagine there's a force, but there isn't one. It's bending pseudo-Riemannian force space-time bending. So, no. We can imagine it. What? Because you give us permission. Very George Musa-esque permission you've given us there, Cox, to imagine a force that isn't a force, that you can think of as a force, right? No, it's not. Bending space-time. Show me a bag of time, then show me you bending it, then I'll accept the Einsteinian nonsense of gravity, which is definitely not a force according to you. Not really a force at all. End quote, Brian Cox. So what is it? We can imagine it, or it isn't really a force at all. Which one is it? Yeah, we know because we know what Einstein is. A bending fourth dimension. Definitely not a force. So no, I'm not going to imagine a force pulling down on a ball that you've just presupposed for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Why are we suddenly assuming forces that aren't forces on balls that you haven't proven? I'm too knackered for this, although I do like good wizardry.
Ground. And the bigger you build the thing, the more the force is. And you can work out, well, what is it when that force overwhelms the strength of the rock?
Hold up.
Yeah, go on, Adam.
You see, you're now accepting, aren't you? You've now accepted the premise that mass creates gravity, because the bigger the mass, the more the gravity. But I'd just like to say it is fantastic wizardry, because he doesn't tell you anything. He invites you in, doesn't he? You can imagine. So from that point on, every bit he said, no, it's not his fault how you interpret it, because he's invited you to imagine it as a force. Now let's proceed from there. And he's very mild-mannered, and you miss those bits. It took me a sec to get that, you know. But that's subtly what he's done there.
You know what he does? You know what he does with his accent? Because he's well-spoken. He uses a U instead of an A when he says can. You can imagine, he says. You can imagine. Says it very quickly. Makes it that little bit softer. If you emphasise the A, you can imagine, would be a lot less subtle.
Rock and it starts to sink. It's actually on Earth, the mountain Mauna Kea, which is one of the Hawaiian volcanoes. It's actually taller than Everest, if you measure.
Throw in a random fact after disclaiming that you're going to be imagining stuff. Now cement you back in reality and reality-based measurements. Yeah? So that you forget that you're fantasizing gravity because he's talking about real stuff, right?
From the surface of the seafloor. And that's sinking. So that's as tall as it can get.
Sinking.
Yeah, so it's too heavy.
So that is as tall as they go.
Yeah.
They could go here.
So if you've got a big enough planet with enough gravity, essentially.
Big enough planet with enough gravity, that requires R values, orbital motions, assumptions of forces that are not forces, gravitational accretion in violation of first laws of thermodynamics. No, not going to assume any of that. Why? Especially when we're measuring and navigating a flat plane. Definitely wouldn't be assuming anything in the sky is a planet. None of you have been there. Nobody's travelling to the lights in the sky through sky vacuums. So all of your assertions about what these quote-unquote planets are is wrong. You definitely haven't visited and studied and observed. Can't, because the claimed place they are to observe them in your worldview is a sky vacuum, in violation of natural law. And no, we're not going to assume any of this, Cox.
Essentially. Then anything that gets too big will sink. And gravity just works in it. It doesn't care which angle you're at. So
Sorry, sinks in gravitational terms. So what he's saying is mass attracts mass. It's going to sink in, and you saw his hand movements in terms of the way he's showing it all coalesce. No, entropy doesn't work in that direction. Entropy works the other way. So he's describing, as I said before he said it, a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Entropy law violation. No. Stuff doesn't coalesce.
So
He pushes it back.
into a circle, to a sphere.
No, definitely not. Gas doesn't do that. In your world of gases attracting other gases to form by way of pseudo-Ramonian force space-time bending, total nonsense, into spheres, then that violates the description of what gases actually do as they disperse in all directions at a high velocity to fill whatever volume they've got. They don't form suns and planets when they coalesce. That's not how gases behave. They're not attracted to each other. Easily demonstratable, in line with natural law. So no, this complete fantasy that Cox is now selling you sits outside of natural law.
If it's big enough. And then you look out into the
If it's big enough, it'll coalesce? No, it doesn't make any difference how big it is. Talking about gases, they just expand in all directions.
solar system are little moons, less than about 150 miles across or something like that.
Doesn't know how big they are. To make any assertion about the size and scale of any moons moving around planets, this is lights in the sky that he observes, he'll need to apply several presuppositions, one of which would be that Earth is a sphere. The second is that we have orbital mechanics and moons moving around in an orbital fashion. The third is that Venus has the same R value that's presupposed in a spherical Earth to give you scaling values in Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion to give you the distances. So therefore, he has to assume all of those things to make an assertion about how big a light in the sky is. Now, the main premise of that is R. Earth with an R value, radius. Venus with the same R value, fixed at 3959. Well, that value has been debunked. So no, definitely not. All of these assertions we can debunk by way of the begging the question fallacies that you use to employ them. So no, definitely not.
Have not got enough gravity, so they're all misshapen.
Enough gravity. Gravity's a pseudo-Riemannian force-based time bending. Show me it. That would be time bending. Then qualify it with how much. How many time bendings are you going to put in this bag that you show me when you qualify how much of it you've got? No, there isn't a qualifiable amount of gravity in pseudo-force-based time.
This is for tense potato, this next line.
Called the potato radius.
What? The potato radius? No, definitely not. You see, Brian made this really clear yesterday in our discussions with Bev Try Thinking, when he was explaining how the maps are actually developed, with angle measurements working their way across the map with something we describe as latitude lines. And they're areas of equal elevation measured from Polaris as it drops to the horizon. Now, if you bastardise in any way or change the radius of Earth, they don't work. It all goes out the window, has to be fixed. What's he talking about? Potato radius. Smug git, check out that teeth, man.
So you get
That's
potato
shapes. I can say that one.
With the potato radius.
Show us with the
Oh yeah. So well, the way that I demonstrated it, you just wanted to get messy, don't you?
We did.
So, what the hell's he babbling about? If Earth had a potato radius, then it wouldn't work with any of the maps. Because they're back-engineered elevation angle measurements to Polaris to develop them. So it can't have anything other than a radius of 3959 as asserted, something we can debunk. What's he babbling about?
Maybe he's just bringing all his chips in for the final bet.
So the way that we demonstrated it in the program is say, so what am I doing? If I want to make that into a ball, then I have to apply enough force to overcome the... If I don't apply enough force, then it'll...
So in your physical example with some sand, you need force. Gravity isn't going to give you that, though, is it? Gravity isn't a force. There isn't really a force of gravity at all. End quote, Brian Cox. So what's forcing it? Bending space-time? No, time's a convention. So what are you going to do? Bend things with conventions? I know what I'll form this ball with. I'll form it with freedom. Definitely not.
Stay like some sort of misshape, potato shape. So that's what gravity is doing, really. It's
doing? What? The bending fourth-dimensional space-time that Einstein invented? That doesn't do anything. It's a description of a bending space-time, a conventional fourth-dimensional medium that isn't real. We don't live in a fourth dimension. There is no time dimension to bend. It certainly isn't a force.
Acting as a force that's squat.
There isn't really a force of gravity at all. End quote, Professor Brian Cox.
Pushing it down, and it'll turn it into a sphere because it acts the same in every direction.
Hello, YouTube.
Acts? No, non-forces don't act. They're not forces. They're not performing either. So no, definitely not. Is that the end, presumably, as they're cutting away to a plug for something else and Cox isn't on screen? Was that it? Did it end on that potato-based baseless assertion?
Just play through the commercial or fast forward.
For more of the same, just click here and don't forget...
I accidentally punched him in the face once.
No, I don't think there's anything else.
All right.
That's it. So just a baseless assertion at the end about potato radius. Why? How does it work with the latitude lines when you're measuring elevation angle measurements to Polaris? Don't they have to sit on the map with exacting numbers? Total bullshitter.
That's real world. Anyway, so the force is going to turn it into a sphere? Really? What force?
How can the same guy say there really isn't a force of gravity at all, put his hands over some sand and say gravity is doing this, when he totally says there isn't a force?
Because he's a heliocentric con man. But with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you, first and foremost, to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a member, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
come with me. What a lovely day.
Transitioning.
That was good.
It thinks it's flat.
Is that what happens with terrestrial refraction?
I like cocks.
Transitioning to a bigger ball.
Cocks is good. We should have more cocks.
No, the Earth is transitioning. It thinks it knows it's flat. It was just
Too many in the hen house.
Now, it's going to take a bit of adapting to figure out the subtly different type of wizardry. I mean, obviously, it's all going to sort of point in the same direction as all of them. But, yeah, I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, he's the wizard on the next level with that. He's got the English accent, so you're lured in by that. I know we in the States are. And then he's just got a lot of BS.
Maybe that other video when he said that gravity, there's no such thing as gravity. Gravity is not a force at all. Maybe that wasn't canon at the time. And this video, I don't know which one's earlier or later produced, but yeah, maybe that the story is changing and that's not canon anymore.
Yeah, it don't matter, no chocolate. They can say whatever they want. They know it. They know it.
they went from flat to sphere, now to round. What's the next one?
They went to potato.
Looping Earth.
Don't forget we got pear and burger.
And dick.
Burgers.
And that comes from the same guy.
Oh,
the same guy said it was pear shaped, and then he said it was a burger shape. do burgers and pears are burgers and pears shaped the same? That's a little weird.
I got a better question, Chocolate. Have you ever experienced Earth as a burger or a pear?
I don't know, but next time you're at a hamburger joint, they say, "Would you like cheese?" Say, "No, add a pear."
Well done.
Well done, guy. Oh, good one. I've never experienced Earth as a burger.
That's really sizzled chocolate.
Don't sizzle too much; it might melt.
Why has it gone quiet?
Because
by the way, that was a great.
Because Paddy from Ireland's not here.
Who's Paddy?
Yeah, where is Brian? Where's Brian anyway?
Oh, you can't call him Paddy.
Brian
That's
would
so
be-
racist. Only I
It's
can
not
do that.
racist. He said if it sizzles, it might melt, and you put a hamburger patty, and I'm thinking of Brian, the Paddy from Ireland.
Patty. Where is
What
the Patty?
happened?
Yeah, my wife's trying to figure out what you're doing with the pun. Paddy.
Pat,
Was that like a 4D pun?
It was a 4D pun, yeah. Yeah, next level.
Stand up when I'm talking to you, laddie.
This is bordering on racist.
No, patty, hamburger patty is what they call it here.
So there's this guy Carpenter that's been in a text chat, and he I guess he's kind of like he didn't want to join the voice chat because he's afraid of you guys like beating him up in chat. But I was just saying like maybe you guys could comment in text chat, encourage him to come in. He has a question for you guys, but he doesn't want to debate.
Tell him what be nice.
His name?
Carpenter at Carpenter. Like if you read the main text, he's been like going back and forth, and I'm like telling him come in here. He's like, nah, you're running away from it, and talking about or what do you say, trigonometry, or I don't know what I forgot already.
Come on in. The water's safe. It's nice and warm in here. There's only hippos.
Yeah, he started like saying like, "Oh, I'm just gonna get yelled at or muted," and I'm like, "No, just respect the conversation. You'll be fine. Just bring up what you
is
have."
He a guy? Is he a guy or a girl?
What?
Do you know? Is he male or
Is he
female?
a what?
Is he a male or female?
I honestly don't know. The way they speak, I would assume a male.
Okay, so tell
women
me
usually have
balls and get in here.
What's his argument?
I already told him that.
What's his argument? What did he post in chat? At least tell us
His
that.
question was its question was where is it at? What something about the 15 miles, 69 degree. Hold on, let me find it.
Yeah, go get it and make it exact.
Okay, Neil,
Hold
Mr.
on.
Bossy Boots.
Here it is. It says that the elevation angle would not change by 1 degree for over 69 miles. And that was his claim. And I said, hey, if you want to bring that up in, voice chat, like bring it up to the panel, discuss it.
What does he mean?
1 degree. 1 degree is 60 nautical miles, which is translated to 69 statute miles. So it depends which convention you want to use to describe what 1 degree is.
Let's explain what 1 degree means. This is something that we didn't want to necessarily go through with Bev yesterday, but there's a conversion, right? You get a 2 for 1 out of the angle basically because of that conversion. Yes, Nathan.
I'm not. It's not my question. It's not my argument. It was his. I don't even know what he's asking.
I don't know what he's asking either.
Our latitude. He said, if you don't believe our latitude changes by 1 degree per 69 miles, then that's your choice to reject true facts. That's what he was saying.
Who said we reject that?
Who said we reject that?
I don't know.
We've been teaching that right from the books.
What's he talking about?
Wait,
I don't know. It's a bit of a nothing burger.
Did he mean the elevation angle that required a flat Earth to get in the first place? Is that the one he means?
I think that's what he's getting at.
This is the reason they really don't want to join. Let's just point that out, right? Yeah. He wants to join to discuss an aspect of an elevation angle. What he doesn't want to get into is just going, right, that angle proves the flat Earth though, right? That's what he doesn't want, right? He wants to discuss the bit after the angle.
Exactly. That's why I asked the question.
I don't want to be burdened with the bits that prove flat Earth when they have these discussions. That's why, as much as I hate to bring it back onto this topic, that's why Bev was being forced into a position by Ruhif to give the disclaimers about what he won't attempt to use angles for. You're not going to attempt to prove this is flat, right? He might as well have telegraphed how fucking terrified he is of us using that stone cold flat Earth proof against him. When he asked Bev, you're not going to use that, are you? What, the one thing that can... You're not going to use that sword that could chop my head off, are you? Because that'll chop my head off. It's like, what?
It's like in the pre-show when I posted the remarks from Mark G and how he used the intercept method and said this could only work on the globe. And then I went through what the intercept method is, and you still need an elevation angle, and it showed in the picture to get the proper positioning, line of position of your boat. So this guy here is, I mean, how many times has Brian come and told us and shown in shows he's put on YouTube that 60 nautical miles has a conversion in statute miles to 69 miles. I mean, we have never denied that.
Yeah, that's why you've got to join it. Yeah, fair enough. If it's one of those, if someone was like, look, I know I'm going to give you a sticky wicket if you start asking me about elevation angle measurement acquisition, but I just want to make this point after the fact. Is it possible that you couldn't hold me over a barrel on the elevation angle measurement proving flat Earth so I can at least ask a question after the fact? Now, obviously, it's a lot to expect a baller to do such a thing, but that's what you'd have to do. You'd have to have so much humility for us to brush past this flat Earth proof. And chances are we wouldn't get it. And not getting it, that would be the concession that Earth's flat, by the way, would mean that we'd have to stay there indefinitely. And we'd probably never get to the point he wanted to cover. It's like, so you understand that to be discussing this angle, we'd have to be measuring it off a flat baseline, because it wouldn't be an angle if it was off a curve. And if we never got to that concession, they'd never get their answer. So by circumventing that process, getting you to ask, you would hope that this isn't the main thing that's addressed in regards to the angle that's proving a flat Earth. Just the question that's been asked via you. Could be wrong. You never know.
No, that's exactly what refracted curvature did, as discussed earlier, when he says you can have it all. I just have two questions. It negates everything.
Right. It's a stone cold flat earth proof. And it doesn't matter if you're an anti-flat earther or a flat earth denier. You don't really want that. And you'll try and undermine it.
Come on, Carpenter. Come on in. Share your pain.
Yeah, he's just saying that I ran away from the conversation. I said, let's talk about it in voice. I want, like, come on.
Here's the problem. Let me tell you the problem. You're not a good fisherman, buddy.
No,
Stag
don't
only
knock
would have had him in here. Hold on. Stag only would have had him in
Don't
here.
bash apocryphon, if I'm saying it correct.
He knows I'm only
Yeah,
having a go at him.
Yeah, it's cool.
I haven't really get on the hook in a while, Neil. It's they're not biting these days. They're scared.
Yeah, they are.
That's
Bev
what it
on
is.
yesterday. My God, you guys have got a short memory. Bev's not a flat earther.
That's true. That's true.
So what the fuck does it matter what he claims to be or not be? If he's attacking the arguments we present, he's no different to anybody else who comes here. I've said this all along. It doesn't matter what your position is. You're a concaver, globe earther, flat earther. Talk shit, expect pain.
Flat Earth Society.
Okay.
I'll just throw that in.
It don't matter what you believe.
Still waiting for one of those guys to show up.
I was very pleased to see a few commenters saying, I really like it when they come on and debate. Like, yeah, me too. It's good fun. But they weren't saying, we really like it when the Globers come on. They don't care if we're taking apart somebody via a video because there's nobody with the bottle to come in and challenge us. Or Bev. Or Jaren. Or whoever it is that strolls through the door, wits it. We don't care. Right? We'll disseminate the general debunking of the globe Earth daily. And then if someone comes in because some aspect of some dissemination of a globe Earth debunking doesn't meet with their requirements that they're trying to punt, then they're going to challenge us. Believe me, they do. Bev's one of them.
I think
What's up, everybody?
personally
What's up,
that the
everybody?
feast
Hey,
that the
D-Rose.
feast of nonsense needs to be dealt with more. So you come with that, they're more dangerous than globe earthers.
I don't know
When
about
you
more
have-
dangerous. Slightly smarter, maybe.
When you have in your weaponry the kill shot, the weapon of choice, take out the argument of the globe from the base. When you have that tool, and to realize that Jaren and Bob and all the others over there don't use that tool, and then you say, well, maybe they have other tools that are better. No, they call us scammers. And then you got over here what happened yesterday. But you have the tool, but you don't want to use it, but you used it to find latitude before. So, I mean, it's sad, but it's just counterproductive to what you already know, which is what Bev did. It's not by accident that when you say we're the tip of the spear as a show, is not because of pride. At least I'm not saying that. I'm saying it because we have the number one refined, number two refined, number three refined, housekeeping questions refined, arguments that destroy this lie. And why people wouldn't use those weapons and they want to go to the armory and grab a arrow with a head made out of stone.
I mean, a toothpick.
Or a toothpick. That's telling me something, that in this genre of scientism and globe earth, flat earth, whatever you want to call it, there's money to be made. There's egos that need to be protected. And if you're a truther, you're just going to go to the weapon, use it, and free the minds of people. But when they don't do it, there's something else, and they can do it. Maybe this is just the way they want to earn a living, or this is how they see it. That's fine. But you shouldn't say that the weapons that exist shouldn't be used and then poo-poo them.
Well, I mean, you can do whatever you like, but expect us to take that shit to pieces based on its lack of merits and point out how your own contradictions and lies about what you can and cannot do with angles are going to be highlighted against your current nonsense trying to undermine us, if it's the case that that particular nonsense is put in our direction, subtly or otherwise.
Well, let me just summarize it. If someone wants to argue it in a different manner and they're successful, I'll listen to it and I'll say, yeah, that was good. Now, let me have a go at it. And then I'll do it in the manner we do it, and it's immediately done. They should say, well done, that was good too. That's all we're looking for. Well done, that was good too. But we're not even getting that.
I don't know. I don't expect anything from
I
them.
don't think we're looking, Tenth, I don't think that we're looking for anything, but when you come against it, that's a problem.
No, my example is in a perfect world, that's what should happen. But because that's not happening, there's something else at play. I don't know the motives. I don't understand it, quite frankly, why people contradict themselves and won't see it or correct themselves across the board. A lot of projections going on. I'm just interested in one thing, and that's getting scientism, this religion of heliocentrism, out and let people see the veil that's covering their eyes. Because it's put there for a reason.
Well, unfortunately, there's a veil over YouTube too, so.
Well, we will avail against all odds.
No,
I
we
really
will
hope so.
prevail. Avail is, well, we could avail ourselves too. I guess you're right.
Well, you're right too.
I availed myself to a little task, but I just disappeared. All that Brian Cox chat got me reminiscing about a video I saw years ago of him waffling and losing it in a restaurant or a pub. I've posted it, Nathan. It's 3 minutes long. Coxie explaining gravitational waves to a gentleman who's. So this is a long time ago. So he's not a flat earther. He's just someone that's challenging the rhetoric and trying to get clarity on gravitational wave.
Really?
Yeah. So, and losing his temper. It's quite good. I put it in your Skype room now.
What do you mean by what happens as a wave goes through the space-time?
Do you want me to incorporate that into the answer?
No, but I just want to know. That's the bit that we're not touching on. You're telling me about squeezing and stretching.
Yeah.
Did you hear the question? Can someone paraphrase the question he's had? Because I didn't quite hear it. I don't know if my ears are blocked up. Did anyone catch it? Do I need to play it again?
Yeah, just play it from the start.
Yeah, play it again.
As a wave goes through the space-time.
Do you want me to incorporate that into the answer?
No, but I just want to know. That's the bit that we're not touching on. You're telling me about squeezing and stretching.
Yeah.
I want to know. Take me one simpler than that.
All right, so as a wave came through here, the space here would expand and contract, and expand and contract, expand and contract. It would be a moving, stretching and squashing of space.
What, like sound? That's what sound basically does, isn't it? He's describing sound wave, isn't he?
Well, he's going to get on to conflating with sound waves, which is the interesting bit.
So I've called it. So I've called it immediately.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's what it is.
So if you took flat, if you made something into a bend, you've actually stretched it, and now you're moving that bend through the space-time.
So he's asking how you can stretch and bend and form and dilate and all the things that we point out is bollocks when you've got a fourth dimensional medium that doesn't exist. How'd you bend a fourth dimensional medium? He's asking basically similar stuff to we're asking, right? He's not a flat earther, but he understands bullshit when he hears it.
Yeah, and he's trying to relate how that and time, this bending of space-time, what impact does that have in terms of the physical reality? So Coxie explain, because he corrects him now.
Gotcha. So just so we can make it clear that we do understand this principle that's being described, he's asking what causal influence the effect of bending space-time can have when bending space-time is the effect caused by the uneven distribution of mass in a pseudo four-space geometry developed by Einstein. Now, what Cox is attempting to do is describe his reification of a fourth-dimensional pseudo-geometry into a description of a sound wave. That's what we've got so far. He looks like he's a bit flustered over it because the guy's not aggressive, but going, no, how does this warping of space-time affect me? I'm paraphrasing, but that's ultimately what he's trying to get at when he's asking Cox this question, it seems.
Yep. No. No. You're not mean anything through the space-time. Space-time is squashing, stretching and squashing. It's not moving through it.
They're saying space-time is bending and squashing. Show me time. Now show me squashing. Oh, you can't? Well, that's because it's a fourth-dimensional geometry in Einstein's mathematics. Not physical in any way, shape or form. Your description of it, paralleling with things that we might see, isn't being done when you describe this bollocks that you're coming out with. And the guy can see it written all over your face.
I'm not watching it, but he doesn't sound very confident right now.
Doesn't look it either. Written all over his ugly mug. But like us, right? This would be like going back to us, back on Flat Earth Debate 10. Going, they don't really seem that convinced of their flat Earth rhetoric. They don't seem to be really making any substantive claims about it being flat. So, you know, that's a bit crap. And Adam's already disclaimed this is from way back when, right? Like anybody, us included, right? Anything that we're disseminating could be qualified as rhetoric. We're saying it over and over again, right? That's rhetoric. Now, we've refined our rhetoric, even renamed it housekeeping. But that's our rhetoric. And if you want to classify us as magicians, I wouldn't have an objection. We're trying to cast our spells on the audience. What are our spells? Well, our spells have the best of intentions because they're trying to disseminate the truth of the reality of the world that you're in. That's what our words, our spelling, yeah, our grammar is. That's what we're using it for. Rhetoric. Now, his rhetoric isn't as polished in this video. So it doesn't mean that we're going to cut to the old videos and go, crap he is, he's not that great a wizard. Obviously, he's refined his wizardry over time. Because of events like this, we're seeing the shaping and moulding from apprentice to wizard. At this point, he's an upstart astrophysicist, as opposed to a well-rounded, well-disciplined, skilled priest of the heliocentric religion. He's not that yet in this. That's clear, isn't it? I mean, this is ages old. You can see how young he is too.
The clip's 14 years old. Like I say, it took me a while to find because it is an old one. But watch, you're describing it exactly right because he'll appeal to the producer and lose his temper as well in this as he's failing to convey his message. As this guy just is just asking him politely, really. He's getting a bit aggressive, but not because he's not getting his answer. He's asking him in all honesty, and Cox is just reverting to type. Well, keep playing then.
Well, it's a moving stretch and squash. So the space here stretches and squashes, stretches, squash, squash. It's moving along.
No, that's what sound does in air.
I can't see that as a wave.
Tough.
Help me make that into a wave.
Oh, there you go.
I can make it into a wave. Just get a speaker.
Listen to the professional response. Tough. Huh?
He did say tough, didn't he?
Tough.
As a wave comes through, does the top bit compress and the bottom bit stretch?
Are you being weird now? Are you trying?
No, he's asking you how you bend time, right? Now, in spite of him being a good magician, if we were ever to be in front of Cox, it's the exact same barrel I'd hold him over. Yeah, show me time. Now show me you bending it. This is not time. This is a napkin. Yeah? Do you know the difference between a pseudo-geometric fourth dimension and a napkin? Because you're bending a napkin. Dumbo. Yeah, that's what I'd get now. But I would assume that, actually, if I was in front of Cox, he'd have a much more skilled way of leading the conversation into this discussion rather than being led by the guy who's talking to him, which is what's actually happening, right? The guy in charge is the guy asking the questions, not Cox.
No, I'm trying to work out the wave. I need to go back one step. You can't just tell me that a wave comes through and this happens and that happens. Why? Because when I sit on a wave, my board gets pushed forward. What is a wave?
Yeah, that's because
you're describing a physical wave and I'm describing a pseudo fourth dimension. That's why, while holding a napkin.
Look at his face. He's scared.
He's trying to get him to define where this wave sits in his reality. And Coxie can't, can he? So he's saying, am I on the wave? Am I riding the wave? And that's where he's getting frustrated. He's only asking for him to tell him where this wave is applicable.
He's doing a good job, actually. He's just asking the simple question. Where do we see a fourth-dimensional pseudo-four-space wave? This napkin ends
Sort of like what we do.
Yeah.
you want to actually describe what a wave is in a sentence.
No, that's all the maths does. Describes the pseudo-four space wave in this instance. Or dilation. Or bending. Right? That's all it does. It's just a description.
Reverse the burden on the guy?
Yeah, he's flipped the burden, yeah.
Just saying, when a wave comes through, what happens? Does this bit get squashed and this bit gets stretched?
No.
No.
No,
so
that's not what I...
Why is he saying no? That's what he just told him. He literally showed something compressing and then increasing in size with his hands. He's it's like being on flat earth debate. This is a good pick, Adam. So he's just paraphrased back what you said to you, Cox. He's just paraphrased your own words and you're saying no. Is it because when you hear it back it sounds absurd? I would suspect so.
A wave is...
What is a wave?
A water wave.
No,
it's
wave.
What's a wave? No, a pseudo-four space wave. Surprisingly, the subject matter's about gravity. Right? In the title, it says Dr. Brian Cox tries to explain a gravity wave. So when he says, well, what's the wave? He says, what, a water wave? So what, you're going to juxtapose something that isn't the gravity wave you're being asked with something physical that actually makes a wave shape? After describing how sound might behave. Yeah, man, this is great, Adam. Where did you find this?
A wave is a disturbance that moves, right? But it's exactly the same as a water wave. What happens in a water wave is not that some...
Well, sorry, a water wave? No, that would be something with three-dimensionality that you can physically touch and experience. Yeah? Now, if you're going to study that water wave as a phenomena, you'd put it through the scientific method to try and establish the cause of that wave. That'd be perfectly reasonable and well within the purview of scientific method. However, you're talking about the mathematical reification of Einstein's pseudo four space-time bending. That's what you're talking about. So how are you going to compare this to a physical wave? You can't. A wave would be described with a Euclidean three space. Definitely not a pseudo-Riemannian four space. So you're juxtaposing something with a geometry that isn't compatible, Cox.
Something moves, doesn't move. The water...
A total doublespeak. Something moves, it doesn't move. Total doublespeak. Say that again. Where are we at? What's the time on this? 2:03. Go back a couple of seconds.
Moves, doesn't move. The water molecules go up and down. It's the same as a sound wave, right? The sound waves don't move air.
It does. What do you think the cone's doing when it moves out? This guy's a complete twat.
I knew you'd like this bit.
Right? Okay. They vibrate.
Vibrate what? The air? Clown is total double speaker. You just contradicted yourself in one breath. My God. Dear. Yeah, he's got a lot more refined. When we cover more Cox, it'll be a lot more refined than this. Well, better be.
I do like that a normie got him under pressure, though.
I don't think this is a normie.
Basic questions.
I don't think this is a normie, is it? This guy.
It might be. Might be just a person asking questions, trying to understand. Like I used to be before I called myself a flat earther.
Maybe he is.
Looking at. Yeah, he's looking at this. He's like, this doesn't make any sense. Explain this to me, Mr. Professor Cox. and he's not having a very good time with it. So it's pretty funny.
It really doesn't say a great deal about it in the info box. There, here we go. Dr. Brian Cox tries to explain to his TV producer what is a gravitational wave. So this is his producer challenging him. So someone quite close to him.
It's not even just a regular normie, it's his producer.
Yeah.
So,
his wizardry is getting too good.
This isn't the first time.
Producers don't understand anymore.
I've got an example of this. It's one of the videos that's actually done quite well on my channel, surprisingly, where Dr. Cox is travelling to the observatory that fires up lasers and claims to get a bounce back so they can calculate with R and the assumptions of sphere Earth the distance to the moon, right? And while they're on the way up there, the producer in that instance is trying to explain to Cox how that's important in selling the idea that we've been to the moon, because Cox ain't getting it. Can't understand why. Well, what different... Yeah, you'll have to dig it out. It's on my channel somewhere. It's just type in Brian Cox in the search bit of my main page, and hopefully it'll just take you straight to the video. But yeah, there's other instances where it may be the same exact producer, because it was about this sort of time. I bet it's the same producer. It's just some guy who's like, I don't like Cox, he's full of shit.
Well,
but I've got to work with him.
If it's the producer, now I'm not saying this is what happened, but I would highly surmise that he's heard him talk so many times on this subject and still fuzzy in the head. And now he's saying, look, I've heard you talk, I've produced your videos, I still don't get it. How is this possible? So then we get this priceless video.
No.
Can I give it a go?
No. You've missed what a producer does. What's happening? Because the reason I said this isn't a normie is because the way it's framed, right? This is framed to make Cox look good. And the producer's job is to make Cox look good, not bad. Now, some producers, like this guy, will try and challenge their talent to produce a better result. In other words, if they've done a take and they say to Cox, just describe what a bending, waving gravity is. He goes, all right. Well, it's kind of like this napkin and kind of squashes and pulls apart. The producer's going to sit there and go, this sounds shite. I don't believe you. Right? And then we'll try and egg him on to refine his argument. So in some ways, when people describe people as having handlers, that's what he's doing. The producer's job is to do that. He's handling his talent to get...
100% right.
Do you follow where I'm going?
Yeah, this is they're filming in Tucson, Arizona. So he's gone off to do one of his specials, and this looks like a working breakfast or something, doesn't it? Where he's
this will go into a behind the scenes or something, right?
Yeah. What's your timestamp, Nathan? Just for the guys in
2:14.
2:14. Oh.
To the direction of motion.
So now so that is a distortion.
It was very difficult to explain. In this section, you don't want to speak about gravitational waves.
Again, it's heavily produced. So after he said this is difficult to explain, there was a not so obvious as the one on this morning, but a jump cut. So they've obviously hacked out a section where he babbles his way through something that was obviously, quote, very difficult to explain, which is why this conversation's happening. But they've cut that out. So now we're back on, all right, it's a bit more refined here, so this bit's made the cut, the other bit didn't.
Well, that means this is the
incomplete
best bit.
then.
Yeah, that means this will be the good bit. Exactly, Adam, you're getting it.
So it's just a bunch of babbling. It's not actually a full explanation, because if it was, why would you cut it?
Just to make him look better, because the bits that have been cut are so bad, they couldn't be included.
Exactly.
Then it's more like he's reviewing something, not trying to explain something, right? Because if you want to explain something, you have to add all of it.
He kind of gave the disclaimer, though. It's kind of hard to explain. Well, obviously, you're not going to get a very good explanation after saying that, right?
Yes, precisely. So that bit's all been hacked out. But now it seems like, well, it's difficult to explain. Cut to him explaining it really concisely.
No, I want to know what a ripple in space-time would mean to this sandwich.
But now we've got the concise summary of what's being asked, right? Cox is nodding along.
Space-time would mean to this sandwich.
This is brilliant. That, mate, is, to me, worthy of a flat Earth debate. So, Dr. Cox, I want to know what space-time means to this sandwich. Is just brilliant. Because his face goes, oh, watch his face. It's, he's just thrown. You're right. Is he just purposely sending curveballs?
Yeah.
Because.
Yeah, I think so. It says it's his producer. I'm almost certain this is
space-time.
I'm almost certain this is exactly the same guy that I found a clip similar, but it wasn't like this in a setting having coffee or whatever. It was in the back of a car or back of a truck on the way to this observatory. But I suspect it's exactly the same guy.
Space-time would mean to this.
Yes.
Let me say something real quick, because you're right. Because on his radio show, I listened to sports radio. The guy was getting on his producer because he was doing something similar to that. And the producer said, I'm just trying to make your show better. That's why I asked you these questions. So this is like right on.
Sandwich. That's it. I know that's it, but I need one. It's like saying AZ.
I need one where you're saying. He's saying, I want to get a good take. That's what that said. The guy in the background, the other producer, said that. The guy's looking at. He's appealing to the other guy, going, what the fuck? Why am I being asked this stupid question? And the other guy's saying, we want to get one where you're responding to him asking you like this. They're just trying to orchestrate what they produce. They're producers.
Present it in a format A to Z sort of thing. He's saying, it's.
There you go, that's the alphabet.
It's not.
I need the bit in the middle.
He's saying you're going from A to D without the B and C. We need the B and C of it, Cox. So give us the bit in between you saying there's a bending fourth dimensional space-time region that affects us, and they're doing an absolute shite job of describing sound waves. We need the B and C bit to be fucking good. This is going to be on the BBC.
You know, he's saying you're not even describing the B and C, and he goes, no, I'm not. And no, I'm not.
Brilliant.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. This covers everything.
Right? If you want me to explain what a wave is, then I'll explain what a wave is. But
No, a pseudo-Riemannian force space-time geometry wave. That's the bending space-time in Einstein's mathematics for a gravity wave. But you're just appealing to if I explain a three-dimensional wave to you? A Euclidean description?
After we review this video, if it's over, can I give my answer, which will actually be an attempt at an answer and not just a bunch of jump cuts?
What? To what a gravity wave is?
Yes.
Who cares?
Why would you want that? We know
You're
what it is.
censoring me.
We know what it is.
I'm asking you, why would it be relevant? That's not the point.
Because I can. Because I can actually answer it.
You're censoring me.
That's Alwyn, boy.
Fine, yeah, once it comes up afterwards, Arwen, once it's all done, if no one else is talking about anything interesting and we've all fallen asleep and we want to know about your fantasy maths. No problem.
Arwen is claiming.
Yes, you do.
I know what Arwen wants to do. He just wants to prove, which I don't doubt for 1 minute, that he can do a better job than Brian
Yes,
Cox.
we all knew that. Nobody needed to say it, Adam, but yes.
Sorry.
We know exactly what he wants to do.
Thank you for saying that.
I've got to break that down for the audience now, just because I hoped it was obvious. It probably wasn't. It was subtle till Adam said that. Arwen wants to show that he can do a better job than Cox.
But we all know that.
We do know that. That's a bit sad, really. It's Arwen's self-esteem.
Proving it, or people will forget.
We all know you could do a better job than him, though. Arwen, why would you want to? It doesn't serve any purpose other than literally that, proving that you could do a better job of describing pseudo force space than Cox is doing.
And you have
training.
You have
to keep your skills sharp.
Then why didn't you come up with the Baldwin channel?
Yeah, Baldwin. Right? That would be something we'd get behind. You doing a better job of describing pseudo force space than Cox. I'd be right behind that. Every time we've said it to you previously, you're like, no, it'd drive me mad or something like that. Anyway, can we get on with this? We'll get to the end and then we'll go through it. We've only got about a minute left of the video, Owen.
Okay. To me, it's obvious. If you say what I've just said that ripples in space and time move out. I've said this. So if I move, ripples expand out. Just like if I did swimming pool and I swim, waves go out.
No. Pseudo four-space geometry waves. No. Time isn't a physical thing that you can bend or that you can travel on as a wave when cross-qualifying it with something that is a physical wave. Definitely not.
He sounds like he's on the back foot hard with this one. this is
No,
bad.
you just don't understand, and he's poor at explaining it.
Yeah. He is on the back foot because he's poor at explaining it, but that's where the producer's skill comes in to get him to, no, I want to appeal to you to understand it. It's like, yeah, the producer in this instance represents the audience. And he's saying, as an audience member, I don't follow where this is going. You need to refine it better. Now, that is, technically speaking, just challenging him on it, but that isn't because he wants to make Cox look bad. On the contrary. Although Cox doesn't understand that because he's immature in his career at this point.
So, if one of those waves come through here, what happens? Space and time stretch and stretch. It moves through. So it passes through here, that does that, and that does that. Why is that not obvious?
Wow. Ricky, man.
What?
Maybe some more hand movements.
Abracadabra, baby.
Full on Tommy Cooper, that one, isn't it? Them hands.
Just not enough hand movement.
Listen, that was that, and this is this, and that was that.
Do you get it, thickos?
That was dire.
I don't understand.
Can someone else other than him tell me that this is incorrect?
Wow.
Yeah, it
What
did go
the
out on the
hell is
BBC.
this? This is hilarious.
That's the third one. Insult to the guy that's asking him a simple question, and now he's a tough, whatever it was, and now he's appealing to somebody else to say, this guy's really thick, he doesn't understand me. Somebody tell me that I'm not the thick one.
It's just like Rumpus asking. Remember how Rumpus would used to ask, like, oh, maybe try to address Arwen, like, oh, he has a good question in the middle of a grilling, right? And that's what's happening to him right now. So he's like, hey, can somebody else ask me a question because I'm stuck here?
I'm going to see if I can dig out my clip from way back when. It's probably going to take
I
me
posted
forever.
it in Master D.
Oh, did you?
The actual video.
You found my video already? Oh, wow, thank you
Not
very
your
much.
video. Not your video, but
Oh.
the video.
The video? Oh, right, you've got me with the fool or fraud one that someone else has posted. And then you've got the original, right?
I just saw the car, the producer. I said, I'll post it. This is what he's looking for. I haven't watched it.
Okay, let's see if it is actually that one. That's an ad.
No, that's gravity bending space.
That's another ad. Okay. Wow, that's a lot louder than the last video. I don't think this is it.
It's a long intro.
Denser than ours.
Oh, well, yeah, immensely.
Right.
No, so this is Robert Llewellyn and Brian Cox, which is something that I'd love to cover because I really, really like Robert Llewellyn. He's the guy who played Crichton in Red Dwarf. The robot character in Red Dwarf was played by this guy on the left. And then, obviously, we've got Brian Cox. No, this isn't it. But someone else took it out. So I will just, if you give me a second.
All right, save the Robert Llewellyn one for tomorrow then.
Yeah, I'll happily do that. Yeah, we'll cover his little chat with Robert Llewellyn tomorrow. But this is me. This might be embarrassing because it's from quite some time ago. 5 years ago. Hope this isn't too embarrassing. We'll see how we go on.
Oh boy.
Are we finishing this one or?
Oh, we had, hadn't we?
No, he's about to pop. We got to. Can you get somebody else?
Yeah, that's where it ended. I thought
Yeah.
that's where. I thought that's where it ended. No, is there more? There was
I
a
thought
blue.
There was about another 5 or 6 comments.
Okay, I'll just go and get that one up again. It better be good.
I better be right now.
You interrupted Nathan from 5 years ago.
Time traveling.
No, it's just a plug. Watch Brian Cox. Earth is.
Oh, apologies then.
Got my hopes up for something extra specially good there.
I thought there was, but
that's okay.
Early bad
One of my
moment.
very earliest
Must have been that
videos
last
was
glass
picking
of wine.
apart a Brian Cox road trip video. And in the video, he has a director explaining to him that there is a purpose in going to an observatory to point out to any non-believers that, of course, we have been to the moon. Now, my attitudes towards people like Brian Cox have changed considerably during my time in the flat earth arena, and that is to say that all of us have been deceived, including Brian Cox. And Brian Cox is the poster child for flat earth ridicule. He's held up as a fraud and a liar quite frequently, and in this clip you'll see quite obviously that he's not perpetrating any deception, at least in his own mind. Obviously he is. He's deceiving the world with a lie that has been perpetrated for a very long time, to the point that he hasn't actually realised that he's perpetrating a lie. And it's pretty much as simple as that. You'll hear the director lead him and explain, after finding out that he hasn't actually read the script in the first place, but lead him to express why they are going to where they're going. And where they're going is to an observatory that measures the distance to the moon using the reflectors that were left there during the Apollo program. My point being that Brian Cox, and maybe even people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, regardless of his Masonic handshakes and bro hugs, may very well be unaware that this deception has been perpetrated. And I said in a recent hangout that Brian Cox... No, Nathan from the past, you fucking moron.
I was about to butt in there, but again, no, because and to defend you, because at this point you're not sure. We don't know. You've not got the 5 years of watching the lies. You're looking at them thinking, are they just genuine idiots, genuine guys that believe it, and then are they just normies?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were an apprentice back
You
then.
don't-
Now you are a full-fledged mechanic.
Look
And
at
an
what we've
optimist.
just been discussing about Cox, how he's had to refine his art, and how we commend deGrasse. You don't get that knowledge without watching these magicians properly. And I don't think back then I was watching them and certainly wasn't scrutinizing them. So I wouldn't have been able, I think if I'm being honest, to make that aspersion. I would now.
Right.
Right, because back then there weren't so many developments from our side which would make them reveal their true nature, right?
Correct.
Like, oh no, we never claimed a geometric horizon. This was all before that, so we hadn't seen how devious they could get yet.
Yeah.
Right.
You are saying you're suspicious of him still.
True.
Yeah.
Cox would undoubtedly be a fantastic ally if he wasn't being ridiculed continually by flat earthers. Like everyone else, he needs to wake up to the deception that's been perpetrated, foisted upon him as it was foisted upon me, and rather than maybe holding him up as a sacrificial lamb or a celebrity to be beaten upon by a... Yeah, he's not, he's a priest. Yeah, I know better now. As a liar, we should actually perhaps appeal to people like Brian Cox with a truthful message rather than pointing out his fraudulent one. Anyway, I'll play out the clip. Hopefully I won't get any sort of copyright strikes, as I am absolutely putting it up for the purposes of criticism. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video.
Yeah, but Nathan, is he a priest by design?
Where are we going?
Or is he
There are some, no, I'm saying it on camera. There are so many things that you could talk about, right? You could talk about, oh, I don't know, fuck it. It's bollocks. The moon landings happened, and it's nonsensical. It's like saying, was America ever discovered? Right? Well, yes, it was. Did we work out how to... Did we discover penicillin? Yes. Did we go to the moon? Yes.
Already, just in this video, this is a more recent video because he looks older. And you can tell already that he's refined his craft a little bit. So it may not be the same producer, director, whatever. But you can certainly tell that Cox has got a little bit better. Can we all tell straight away?
Hang on.
What
This is, I'm sorry, but this reminds me of Neil deGrasse Tyson saying, you see the amount of paperwork that they have to do.
Yeah, he's making an agreement ladder with you as the audience, isn't he?
I mean, discovering America and penicillin is the same thing as violating natural law.
Yeah.
That's the enemy.
I mean, Neil deGrasse.
Or use in debating it anymore.
Right. Tell me where we're going in the respect to the fact that ultimately this completely proves the fact that they went there.
Well, first of all, I don't even accept that it needs proving because you've got to be a complete moron to.
So straight away, the motivation of the director or producer or whatever it is we've got to sell going to the moon to the audience, Cox. Sell me. And response, well, you've got to be a moron not to believe it. It's like, oh, don't you get what you're supposed to be doing here, wizard? You're supposed to be selling it. So you need to sell me the notion that this proves we went to the moon.
Anyway, but remember, if you don't hear my question, your answer doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, right. Are you really suggesting that in this program, a scientific documentary program?
Not scientific. Nothing in this program will have been scientific. He won't have done any science. He won't have established cause and effect reasoning. He won't have studied natural phenomena. None of what he's doing science. But he's appealing to it, but rather than answering the question to do what the producer wants, which is convince the audience we went to the moon, he's saying, in this day and age, you really think we need convincing? What, because you are? No, you need to be the convincer. He just doesn't get it at this stage of his career, what his purpose in life is.
Sell it to me, baby.
Well, I would say that I don't know if what we're calling wizardry is just levels of indoctrination to them and how much further they've fallen into the rhetoric. So in the beginning of it, you're not going to be that good at it, you know, but the more you stick with it and further you go in your indoctrination, you know, you're going to get up to those levels if you believe it.
About gravity, you're going to even mention the words. Could it have been true that the moon landings were fakes?
Well, you know the script that I wrote.
Wow, I didn't notice that when I watched it last time 5 years ago. The look on his face. The look on his face is one of horror. Horror and contemplation. I mean, to even think that it could be considered as fake. Yeah, Cox, yeah, it was. Second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuums aren't going to give you a route to the moon. My bad.
Hey everyone.
Hey Brian.
Did he not mention gravity there?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Or did I hear? Wow, cause he'd be in violation of believing the moon landings were real, wouldn't he? If he is to promote general relativity, which he was in the last video.
Right, they've got very much the notion of mass attracting mass in the moon landing. Do you want to just explain why you're saying that, Brian? I know I've summarised it, but you explain it better than I.
Yeah. I'll make it very simple for the audience. In the moon landing claimed footage, you see that the astronauts are jumping around with only 1/6 gravity. So they're only 1/6 their weight. They can jump up in the air and go down, land slowly and pick up heavy things, all this stuff. Whereas that's from pre-Einstein, what would have been called a force of gravity, an attraction between masses. So your weight is given to you by a force of gravity. So when you are on a smaller spheroid, let's just say, than the globe Earth, then you will have less, there'll be less gravitational attraction because the spheroid is smaller. But Einstein threw all that out the window. There is no force of attraction in Einstein's relativity. There is no attraction between masses. He doesn't account for more than one mass. Weight has nothing to do with gravity or anything that's described as gravity within Einstein's relativity. So if they were to stay in line with Einstein's relativity, you wouldn't see guys in supposed spacesuits springing around as if they are nearly half weightless, because it has nothing to do with it. So within the the claimed moon landing footage, they used an old description of gravity pre-Einstein. Yet Einstein was 45, exactly, old and busted. And Einstein was 45 years before the moon landing. And they didn't use Einstein's relativity when they were making up the moon landings because there was nothing to show. You just have to show guys walking around in suits. You wouldn't see.
So you're saying you're a heretic if you believe in the moon landing?
You are if you're a heretic to Einstein if you believe in the moon landing.
You're going against Einstein if you start just buying into the notions of gravitational attraction in the moon landing footage. Well, that isn't in line with the current rhetoric of Einstein's gravity, which I don't know about the maths in terms of the years, but however many years prior was when it was released. Or was it 1915? So, yeah, they just chose not to use pseudo-Harmonian force space-time bending for their claims of bullshit and dropping hammers on the moon and all that crap. They just chose not to use it.
Yeah, I think Brian Cox obviously knows the difference, because I definitely remember seeing him in another clip describing how gravity is not a force and Einstein superseded Newton, and the Earth is actually going up at 9.8 meters per second squared. So,
exactly,
that's a problem, Mr. Cox.
He's in this video, Chocolate, telling you that you're a moron if you don't believe in the moon landing. But he doesn't believe in them, according to his other videos.
Right.
Yeah, did you read it? No. There we go.
Does it say something about
it? Says something like it's a comedy throwaway line. I'm not saying that we're saying that it didn't happen. It's a comedy throwaway line in that, of course it bloody happened, because I fire a laser at the moon and it sends it back.
So at this point, he's spoon-feeding the rhetoric to Cox to get it back into the can, to film it. He's saying, look, we need you to associate this firing of a laser at the moon with being proof that they went to there. That's what we need to get out of this. That's what he's directly told him. I'll just rewind that bit so you can hear him say it explicitly.
Yeah, get back on track, wizard.
It says something like it's a comedy throwaway line. I'm not saying that we're saying that it didn't happen. It's a comedy throwaway line in that, of course it bloody happened, because I fire a laser at the moon and it sends it back. It's a silly thing to have said. So,
all right.
Where are we going, and what does it prove or not prove, and who cares?
We're going to the laser range. We're going to the lunar. We're going to the. Where are we going? Where are we going?
Donald Observatory.
My Donald Observatory.
Wow.
That's it. That's all it was.
Wow, that ending music saved the day.
Well, I would like to point out something in defense of Brian Cox. Like, if someone was denying that nuclear power existed, and like you had someone who studied in that field, right, and you're a producer, and you're like, why are we going to this nuclear power plant? And there's people that say that nuclear power doesn't exist. Like, you could see that professor like laughing it off, like, you know what I mean? It's
I do and I don't, because in your comparison, it's 1 for 1. It's like they're not going to the moon launch site. Well, why would we need to go to the moon launch site to prove we do moon launches? We're going to the moon. That would be the 1 for 1 comparison. He's saying, why are we going to an observatory that fires lasers at the moon? Well, we need to make it clear, Cox, the producer's stating, that what does it mean to the people watching? Where are we going? What does it mean? Well, of course we couldn't be possibly saying that we didn't go to the moon, is what I want you to say, Cox, because we're firing lasers at the moon. It's just a non sequitur. But he needs him to instill this idea of this non sequitur into Cox so Cox can verbalise it.
Right, but he's not looking. I'm saying how he's looking at, or could be looking at it, is as if, because he thinks that he's doing science, or he claims that he thinks he's doing science. So, in his, he may have the same reaction even though he's not.
What John is trying to say.
But he's not even, sorry.
No, well, go on, Chocolate. I'll do after you.
I understand what you mean, John, but he's not even taking it, as far as my opinion, he's not taking it with any integrity, because he's almost saying it like it's completely baffling to believe that there are people that don't believe the moon landings happen. Instead of taking it as his producer is trying to present it to him, take it as a moment to show people, even if there are people that you think are crazy that don't believe the moon landings happen, take it as a moment to teach people that it did. And he's like, it's like he's got to be coaxed by his coach to do that. It's weird.
Well, the thing is, though, like if I walked up to a nuclear physicist, right, and said that nuclear power doesn't exist, he would either laugh at me or just look around the nuclear powerhouse he's standing in, you know? And that's kind of the reaction I see with Cox in this video is like, do I really have to prove this?
I see what you're saying. You're saying his attitude is, this is absurd. It goes without saying. You're talking to an astrophysicist here. That's what you're saying his attitude is.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but John, he's not able to go and stand on the moon.
No,
he's
but
not
it's
able
this-
to prove any of these things. He's just like, you know, it just has to be real, even though he's in violation of it in all these other videos. Sorry, Dan, go on.
No, that's right. It's the same as the ballers with the nautical almanac and the sextant elevation angle measurement. They go to the books, they see how it's put in there. Of course, it's a deception because the angled measurement destroys any part of the globe, but they got all the globe rhetoric and the transformative math to get the Haversine to put you on top of a sphere with the PZX triangle. They got all this stuff to convolute it with the math. And it's just like if I went to someone who's been using a sextant for 40 years, I say to him the stuff we share on the show, he's going to look at me like I'm crazy. Are you kidding? I've been using the book. It works. It shows a dingleberry. It must work on the dingleberry. Just because they got the globe Earth sketch on there, he believes it's working on the dingleberry.
Ken, I have a question for you, just slightly off topic. Is the Haversine in every nautical book?
I can't say that because it's the books that go with, because the nautical almanac is just where the stars are, as far as I know. I'd have to go look into it to see if there is there. But in the other books that you need for the math and all that, that's where it's described. So like when you want to do PZX triangle, where you're using the North Pole, if you're in their world, the Northern Hemisphere, the observer and the star, and you get your spherical triangle. Well, it's definitely in use there. So I'd have to look into it.
Not prior to 1805, because that's when the first table was published.
And before you go any further, spherical triangle.
Well, there's no such thing, but I'm talking the way they talk.
Oh, understood. Just want to make sure that everyone knows that that doesn't exist. That's a paradox.
Oh, absolutely. They have it going all the way to 570 degrees. Imagine that.
Hey, Nathan. Nathan, you.
Yes.
That's not Nathan.
Yes.
Oh, that's Nathan. Yeah.
See?
Before you close out, I'd like to bring up a minor topic. I just don't know when you're going to close out because you never say when you're going to close out. You just say that. Perfect. And with that, right? So I don't want you to do that before I bring this topic up.
Go and bring it up. That's as good a time.
Want me to bring it up now?
Yeah.
I was just going to eat. My blood sugar's circling the drain.
That tells us he's planning to close out, so bring it up now.
I'll fill in for you, QB. Go off and have some food, and we'll keep the show running. Don't worry
And
about
with
it.
that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both.
I could spend the time by trying to explain to you guys what a ripple of what is it? A gravitational wave is.
That's a fair point. Right, Q gets time to get some food down him. Alwyn gets time to do a better job than Cox did. We did promise. Go ahead.
Thank you. All right. So yeah, it's not, of course, going to be like an actually fully sound explanation because
Hold
it's
on.
gravity. But
you need some theme music.
yeah. But the thing is about the idea of a gravitational wave is that, well, if it's based on gravity being the bending of space-time, and then there is a ripple within bending of space-time, we would have to conclude that there would have to be a pseudo-Riemannian subspace, right? Because if the bending of space-time can ripple, that means that it is a wave. Thus, there has to be an initiator of that, a substance that is separate, right? Just it's like the particle wave duality, which isn't a duality, right? The idea of ether. Well, there would have to be an ether of gravity within pseudo-Riemannian force space. So there's like a subdimension within the subdimension of pseudo-Riemannian force space, which would allow gravity, the bending of space-time, to be a wave. That's my explanation.
Well, I could do better than that.
So could I.
Oh, it wasn't actually an explanation, you say?
When you drop a stone into the water, when the stone hits the water, it causes a ripple out from that stone, and that's what happens when a mass bends space and time, because that causes the effect of gravity, causing a ripple, which is what we call a gravitational wave, out through the universe, affecting all things.
Yeah, but my point is
That's
that
wrong.
normally it's a field, right? Even pseudo-Riemannian force field is thought to be like a field. It's just another layer of all things. But it isn't, because the substance of space-time, which is the medium, can ripple. So there would have to be a subdimension.
So is ether.
I think you'll find it out
Riemannian force space.
The only way you're going to hold on,
make
let me just try and help you out. The only way you're going to do this in a coherent way to better Cox is to describe experiencing time in a linear fashion and then juxtapose that with the description of a geodesic bending through time in the time dimension. Now, by doing so, what that would achieve is the non-effect of linearity being described in a time manner curving through a geodesic describable in Einstein's mathematics. That way, you can essentially have the person you're describing it to understand and appreciate that what you experience in a linear fashion is actually bending through a geodesic in a fourth dimensional space-time. Then you have to string that together in another geodesic time bending, which would also be experienced in a linear fashion. Ergo, fucking hell, man. What's going on?
This is great.
Ergo, a wave. My God, I was nearly at the fucking punchline. Thanks a bunch.
Sorry, I'm just so impressed. I mean, that is exactly
right.
what I meant to say, except
What you meant to say? You mean what I did say? I wasn't saying it. I was saying it. I'd even repackaged it to get you to say it. I'm doing the thing that I'm now coaching you like you're fucking Cox.
Hang on a second.
I don't want to make
you said I was
anything
wrong.
up.
Hang on, sorry. Nathan, you said I was wrong.
Yes.
No, I am not.
The reason
That
you're
is
wrong,
what a gravitational wave is.
you didn't reify. Well, you would have been right if you'd have reified the pond into the space-time dimension in the same way that the profs who do it with a stretched out sheet make the step clear that sheet that they've stretched out represents the time dimension. But you didn't take that step. You just described it in a three-dimensional ripple fashion of a physical wave moving through the lake. But that isn't time bending in a fourth dimension unless you qualify your reification. You didn't. Sorry, you're wrong.
You just went the first.
But I'm trying to. But I'm not wrong. I'm just trying to explain it, and I think I explained it very well to the guy.
No, you didn't. You did the same. You did the same crappy job that Cox did, because all you did was juxtapose it with a three-dimensional Euclidean description of an actual physical wave. That was the same quality. Even Arwin's was better than yours, Brian. It's not often that you do poorly.
That's how it's described, though, Nathan. That's how it's described.
Can I have a citation for that?
No. Just help this out with Brian. yes, it is, but there's always a qualifier that you didn't insert for the reification of, in this case, it would be the meniscus layer of the pond into the time dimension. You didn't take that step.
Exactly.
I thought that was obvious.
Oh, right. Well, that's what Cox would say.
Right.
That is perfect. Wow. This is magic.
Hopefully I'm not hang on 1 second. Hopefully I'm not making any waves, but I can do better than that.
It would be experienced in a linear fashion anyway. I mean, obviously, it's a straight line that we experience on a geodesic in space-time.
Oh no, talk about ruining a punchline.
Sorry.
So none of you did the Socratic method. You didn't define Ripple. You didn't say if it was a cryptocurrency. You didn't define it as a wine mixed with fruit. you just went off Ripple. So I did better than all of you.
Wow, talk about nitpicking.
He needed a boozy
Stop
reference to
whining.
come back at him with, and I couldn't think of one.
You know, Nathan, I'll be honest, I couldn't follow what you were saying at all.
Perfect. So I did absolutely fantastic. That was ideal then.
I thought that Nathan actually said it really well, better than I could formulate, because he actually drew in the mechanics. I kind of didn't do that. I only gave the rough outlook, and Nathan just filled it in. I was like, whoa.
The main trick
So,
with
yeah,
bending
impressive.
space-time, right, is to always have a straight line path representative of the reification of the time dimension, right? In other words, when they describe you moving in a linear fashion, that will be your experience here on Earth. So the idea is to get the person to understand that nothing happening represents the bend through the geodesic in the reified time dimension. Once you've got them to comprehend that, oh, so what we'd actually experience is fuck all when you describe a straight path through a geodesic that's actually bent. I won't experience anything beyond what I normally experience because in my reality, I'm travelling along the geodesic in a linear fashion in time. So I wouldn't notice the fact that what's curving through space-time is only ever experienced in a linear fashion by me. Therefore, I wouldn't experience anything any different to what I would experience in my general day-to-day life. Isn't it amazing how not experiencing anything different to what you ever experienced actually shows you how you've bent through a geodesic? Isn't that amazing?
But that's the entire point, right? That's the point. It's like, yeah, we think it's all normal linear, but in reality, time isn't really that linear. It's just because we experience it linear.
Bending up and down through a wave.
How it is different.
Exactly, Alwyn. We might experience it in a very linear fashion, but in reality, that experiencing of something that isn't physical and is a concept we've actually described is already being described by you as being experienced. Isn't this amazing? How you've all been led so beautifully?
This sounds awesome. This sounds just like how I'm supposedly experiencing like 25 different vectors of movement right now, but I'm not actually experiencing it, which proves that I'm experiencing it. That's great.
This is the thing, right? Arwin, a few years ago, had this, I don't know if you call it epiphany, but a notion that he wanted to explore. And on that vibe, I'm kind of trying to say something that will hopefully encourage people to trust us a bit more, which is to say that if Arwin did do the Baldwin channel that we've been encouraging him to do, I suspect he'd actually do quite financially well out of it. If he set it up all separate from everything else and kept it not even on the down low, but, you know, away from his flat earth disseminations, very much kept it on point and on character, and basically did his version of what we're doing here, refined his arguments for globe earth and disseminated it in the way that only Baldwin can, yeah? There's a good chance that that would be more profitable. But you've got to be good at it. In other words, you can't just go, well, if I just transition to the ball, like someone like Ranty would assume, well, I'll have riches follow me because I'm a baller then, right? Therefore, riches? No. You've got to actually be you've got to actually offer something, which Arwin certainly could do with Baldwin. But the fact of the matter is, regardless of the fact that it would be easy to transition like someone like Ranty, none of us will do it. And the reason is simple. Look to Haunted House and Conspiracy Cat's interview for a baller describing what I'm about to describe, which is the sleepless nights that you would endure if you're a bullshitting liar, right? That, I don't necessarily speak for everyone. I'm pretty sure that everyone I surround myself with are good, honest people. Now, typically, good, honest people find it quite icky or awkward or nasty or horrible when they find themselves in a position that they're lying. In other words,
unsettling.
Unsettling. They don't want to do it, in other words. I don't want to be in that position. Now, you might find yourself falling into bullshitting, but that will be uncomfortable for someone who's generally honest, right? So therefore, why wouldn't we move into that arena? Well, because it would feel fucking horrible. And that's the anti-flat earth arena that would probably be the same pond anyway. It's probably what Ranty actually found. He swam across a bit of the pond and then found it is the same bloody pond. Thinking that riches would follow.
Is that like in Planet of the Apes where he goes back and goes, no, when there was ape people there in the world he left us?
Exactly. But what we're talking about with Baldwin wouldn't be that. It would be the comparative normie comparison. I think we used this actually today on the show, right? With the guy that's talking about the moonrise and how it made him feel, and he ends up with 20 million views. That puts you into a different arena once you're disseminating the ball earth information in a very digestible and coherent way. That will get you somewhere on YouTube if you can do it with some personality, far more than stuck in this pond as a flat earther or anti-flat earther or concaver or whatever else there is swimming around here.
You got to come in and say, enough of these guys trying to explain this nonsense. Here's Baldwin, and this is what it's all about. And you break it down,
right?
Owen.
Well, there was an overriding point that I was going to get to actually, Neil, which is to say that that's true for all of us, because in order to undo an argument from the globe, you've really got to have a good understanding of what the globe's offering. And yet we're at the cutting edge, as we were described by Bev yesterday, paraphrasing how we describe ourselves, which is absolutely correct. In other words, this is super nitpicky when I'm like, no, Brian, fact, you were wrong. It's like, no, it wasn't. Right? Just sharpening up right at the tip of the spear. No, if you're going to play a baller, you've got to qualify your fourth dimensional reification in the medium that you're rippling. If you don't do that, it's wrong. Right? That's right at the tip of the spear. Why? Because we're being hyper-specific about the actual claim that's being attacked. If you haven't got that right, then how are you going to undo it? Like we said to Bev yesterday, well, what is the black swan? I don't know. How dare you attack it? And that's how we're doing the globe, right? In other words, all of us, without exception, with a little bit of spit and polish, right, which is all that's been done here. The only reason I was concise enough was because I had everyone else doing it before me, right? We'd have all got there eventually, because we're all hyper-skilled in understandings of rhetoric that we defeat. Now, I don't know where I got this from, but somebody at some point pointed out that the best person that you can debate is somebody that can actually stand in their opponent's shoes and put their argument in the best possible way, a.k.a. Baldwin. That's what Baldwin does, right? He's standing in a glober's shoes, disseminating the globe earth argument and trying to fight it as hard and as well as he can as that position, otherwise known as devil's advocate. Well, that skill only comes from being a really well-refined flat earther, which we all are. Therefore, it's not unexpected that we can do a better job than Cox can. Because he's not having to overcome his argument, he's just having to learn it with this producer egging him on, while he's like on the road that we were at the beginning of Flat Earth. But 15 years later for Cox, when he's highly refined, like on the show we did live, that he was on this morning, yeah, he's got there eventually. He's nice and skilled and can lead his two people on the panel, or whatever the hosts were considered in that regard, the people he's leading. He did a good job. Yeah, we can pull it apart, but he's much more refined than he was. Well, the same goes for us, but in a much more condensed period, because we're having to defend claims that we haven't made, whilst suffering ridicule under high pressure from the masses, while we defend non-claims for the flat earth and pull apart the globe claims that we must understand in order to do it. And must understand means must understand better than Cox does. Hence, we'll all be able to do a good job of this. We'd all be able to do better than Cox at disseminating the bullshit of a globe. Therefore, all of us could easily transition and probably be more successful. I say probably, I don't know. Given Ranty as an example, probably not. But, transition into a non-flat earth arena and do a really good job of disseminating what is globe earth rhetoric. You know, when I teach my kid about it, I'm on point. I know my heliocentric shit well enough to teach my kids it, and I do, so that they are at one with society they'll find themselves in. Yeah? Therefore, I would not need somebody who's better at it like Cox, because he isn't, to disseminate the religion of heliocentrism. All of us could do a good job of disseminating it to next man.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. We know our opponent's argument very well, and that way, or that's the reason why we can give their argument mostly better than them, because they don't know our arguments. Most of the board side don't know our arguments, so they can't give us our arguments like we can give it to them. We can give them theirs to them. I can confidently say, I just finish up. I can confidently say that I know their model better than 99% of them, including Brian Cox and all them. I'm not saying I know better than Brian Cox. I'm saying, including him, he'd be in that 1%.
That's who we need to be talking to. Right?
Right.
Cox,
Well,
NDT.
Right logic.
It's just, back in the day, it was a pipe dream. Oh, we're never going to get in front of Cox. Why not? We're never going to get in front of NDT. Why not?
Whoa, wait a second now. Now you're going to say that? When
They
I
will
was
come
saying it
to
for
us.
2 years ago? And you just laughed at me to scorn?
Well, it's
Now
different
you're
time now.
saying it?
I'm saying it's
You're
a
never
different...
going to talk.
I'm
You're
saying
not
I've
going to talk to them.
I'm saying I've only come to this mental realization in the last 25 seconds, Neil.
That's never going to happen.
Why not?
Never going to happen.
Why not?
Well, because they know they'll get their asses handed to them. They're not as dumb as they look, Nathan.
Doesn't mean they.
Neil deGrasse
Doesn't mean they
Tyson
won't.
has already
No. Them. You're saying inevitable defeat is the reason we won't cross paths. I don't see that as a reason to not cross paths.
That is a reason.
Why?
They'll avoid it.
They'll avoid
Neil deGrasse
crossing
Tyson
paths.
has already said that he has objective facts and he won't debate that because somebody who might possess a better personality might beat him even though he's got objective facts. Therefore, he won't debate.
They got too much to lose, Nathan. It's not going to happen.
I would have to disagree.
Well,
under the
that's okay.
circumstances that the public demand it. Under those circumstances.
Nah, they'll ignore it.
Well, with social media, I would have to say, with social media, there can be a lot of pressure put on somebody to do something.
Exactly. How long could they ignore it, QE? I'm being
Yeah.
serious. Like, how long could they ignore it?
Long time. Till it goes away. Time cures all ills.
What if it don't go away?
Yeah, unless
Flat
it
Earth is
doesn't.
not going away.
Hold on. Time cures all ails unless it doesn't. Unless this thing just keeps on festering, then eventually, I mean, if the globe doesn't settle back, get back to normal, give more human messages instead of all this demonic lying and twisting, people are going to get sick of it. It's not going to be nurturing anymore in the spiritual sense, not inspiring anymore. And then people eventually will just do away with it. So time cures all ails until it doesn't.
I never disagree with
I would
QE,
have
but
to
I'm going
say-
to disagree with him this time. And it's going to happen.
Yeah,
Well,
Neil, I would have to
you can
say.
disagree all you want.
Hold
It's
on,
a subjective
but why?
topic.
Hold on, Brian. Hold on, Brian.
Okay.
Why, Neil? You've got to qualify it somehow.
Like I said, there's too much pressure being put on. Flat Earth is not going away. It's getting stronger and stronger in social media. You go into these NASA shows and all you hear is mocking comments in the chat, and Eli will testify to that. It's just too much now. They're going to have to give an answer.
Yeah,
was
I
happening.
have to.
That was
Brian.
happening a few years ago. We've been out here for 7 years. So
Right.
I'm not saying that it won't. I just find that they're going to dodge it. They must dodge it. Can you imagine Brian Cox or Neil deGrasse Tyson? I'm going to blow some sunshine up my ass right now. Sitting down with a debate with me.
Yes, I can.
No, it's not going to fucking happen.
No, I can. I can visualize that happening. I can visualize you crossing paths.
No way.
Why not?
Yeah, I can't do.
Yeah, in the future, yeah.
So, what's to say that he does a Q&A or open phone in And you go, fuck it, I'll try. What's the crime in trying? You phone up. You go, oh yeah, I've got an interesting question for him about thermodynamics. Is there any chance I could ask him? And the radio producer goes, oh, this guy sounds smart. This will be great. Yeah, I'll put you straight through. Hello, Neil deGrasse Tyson speaking. How can I help you? Hi there, Crayon Muncher. My question is about the second law of thermodynamics and the sky vacuum. How can you have gas pressure without a container?
Hold on. There was a time when I thought I could never. Wait 1 second, Brian. I'm going to be quick. There was a time I thought I would never get on this show, and you know if these were real. Okay, and then it became a reality to me.
You were on quite a lot of acid at the time,
so
though.
be ready.
That's a direct comparison. Good analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hang on,
It may be feeble, but
Hang
it
on.
happens.
Let me back you up, Neil.
One day,
I'm not
Neil
saying-
will get on that
I'm not-
show with a public link that anybody can join, but only if they're real.
Okay, let me
You don't
just throw
understand
something.
how I had no skills at all to get on. So it was an impossibility for me.
Brian,
Okay,
just
give me a second. Yeah, this is about my 8th time trying to get the point out. And if I got, this happens all the time. If I could just get me point out at the start, then it would solve all this nonsense. It's like this. The only way for this to go away and for time to make it go away. Now, I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but the only way I am saying it couldn't happen. That can't happen. And the reason why is this, is for us to be completely debunked, which can't happen. Because they need a flat earth for all the things they do. So they can't debunk us. Everything proves it's flat. So we're not going away. We're only going to grow in numbers. And if you look at, even though it's a lot of flat earth nonsense, if you look at the amount of flat earthers on TikTok, it's getting absolutely crazy. So it's only a matter of time before pressure is put. Brian Cox is not even that old of a guy. It's only a matter of time before the pressure is put on. So I mean, in this instance, I have to disagree, QE. I would say there is no escaping it. Unless they fake their death or something.
That'd be better off. Ain't gonna happen.
It would be, yeah, it would be.
Ain't gonna happen.
Well, it's going to be funny when you're there doing it on a stage, debating them. That will be really funny.
Now, what's going
Then
to
you-
happen is when the paradigm shifts, then they'll come out with some bullcrap.
Thanks for being positive, Neil.
Well, they'll come out when it's a fact and the paradigm has shifted that Earth is flat. Holy cow. Then they'll come out and say, we were telling you so long. You just weren't listening.
No. Come on, Neil. What kind of shrooms you on this morning?
That caused that run. I'm very upset right now.
The good ones.
When are you not upset?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Another
What did you
thing.
have, Kiwi? You had something. We're waiting for
Yeah,
you.
I do. Just relax. It's a little something. It's not earth shattering, but it has to be dealt with. Back to you. Weren't you supposed to call Merriam-Webster?
Me?
Oh, get your Robert Bassano on.
Yes.
I was supposed to call. Oh, yeah, I did say that. Yeah, I got caught up in the move. I'm still trying to get it together here in Bama, so forgive me. But I will.
When you call him there, you got to be less Italian.
So what do? Get on and say, listen, you crayon muncher. What the hell's going on with these definitions?
No,
you're
you
changing?
don't do that.
Change the freaking word.
You don't do that. That's going to ruin everything. You call him a knuckle dragging window licker.
That's much better.
Agreed. They'll be like, how'd this guy know I was eating crayons this morning?
All right, we ready? I'm going to
Ready.
need Nathan's assistance with this. Hello out
Nathan.
there.
I said, I'm ready.
Nathan,
Coffee.
Your
I said.
assistance has been requested.
Somebody said, Nathan.
I'm ready. I did say I'm ready. I was just rumpus. You didn't hear me.
Hey, do me a favor. go ahead and go to Ballbusters. I want you to pull up Gordzilla's super chat. We got a little message here for you. You went over it earlier today. We're going to go over it again. Yeah, that one. Top one. Yellow one. The yellow spine one.
Got it.
So I'm going to read it out loud. Go through the whole thing. Excuse me. Although Bev is very pedantic, to say the least, his point was in context of strict geometry. If the teacher only had given us one single angle, say 23 degrees, you could do nothing with that alone. Let's go to the first statement. Although Bev is very pedantic, no, he's not. He's retarded, to say the least. His point was in context with strict geometry. Bev doesn't know what geometry is. Just go back to my show. He doesn't know what a horizontal line is. It was a train wreck of a disaster. So make sure you go back and check that out. Number two, can you define strict geometry for everyone? Gordzilla. Number three, a teacher would never give you just an angle and ask you to do anything with it unless it's in the context of an elevation angle to Polaris. So that'll never happen. And watch what you see. You better be more specific out here, chat skanking. You one single angle? No, we discuss elevation angles. Let's stay in context, not just any old angle. And B, in the context of celestial navigation, Bev's retard appeal, you can do fuck all with an angle, is an idiot straw man. Because we have never stated that. That is not one of our arguments. So I don't know what's going on here. All I know is I've been raising a weathered eye to you, Gordzilla, right? Because this isn't the only one. In fact, a couple days ago, I posted another chat. I put it up top in Ballbusters, and I put it right down here, Nathan, where he made a couple statements. I think it was on my show with Bev. It's not super chats, but just chat skanking. And not only that, now, I don't have any more of these that I've caught, that I've copied, but I've made mental notes. Like for the past 6-8 months on different shows, not only yours, Flatzoids, he's been sort of kind of heckling from the idiot bleachers and trying to undermine FED a little bit. It's just something I noticed. Like I said, I didn't copy them, right? So I don't know if this guy's just a chat skank. Does he ever show up in Discord or anywhere? Has anyone ever talked to him before?
Just in super chats.
He sends a lot of super chats. And let's be
I
honest,
don't know,
considering...
man, but it's winter time, so maybe he's just a little bit more pushy
No,
than usual.
Kiwi's right. I noticed it too.
Yeah, but depending on how you look at it from...
Look, I've went into arguments with him on my show in my chat over things that he says. So I think it's just a mood. I mean, he's not doing something nefarious. He might be just a little bit just annoying.
It's a lack
right
of
now.
understanding.
That's
lack
okay.
of understanding.
I mean,
yeah, but I'm not saying he's not
No.
thinking he's brilliant. He's just being creative with his
I see
inquiry.
Godzilla as one of us in the regards to he's trying to challenge us, and he's challenging us based on Bev's rhetoric. So one, yeah, you could say he's a Bev sympathizer and just leave it at that. Fine. But on the other hand, number one, he's for money. He's making sure that we are being attentive to what he's putting to us, right? Not in the case of the second example I just had it a second ago, but I don't know where you got those from, but certainly this one's from today's chat, right? So he's getting...
Yes, the yellow spine one.
Right. So he's getting, at least he's getting good value out of his super chat. I mean, we're covering this in pretty extensive detail. But no, I think he's having a poke based on what he understands Bev to have disseminated it. And with lots of caveats and weasel words, there's a fair chance that Godzilla, being a Bev fan, has paid close attention and absorbed Bev's rhetoric. Therefore, can paraphrase it in this way to make it seem like it's legitimate. As for me needing to be more specific, says Nathan is lazy with his, as in language. He's talking about Bev being very specific with his language and saying I'm sloppy. Could take that as...
He's not.
What?
Relax, Neil. Let Nathan finish.
What's the same? I could take that as a personal slight. On the other hand, I could just say, okay, are you saying comparatively to Bev, my sophistication in terms of my geometric linguistics isn't as good as Bev's. Perhaps so. Maybe I'll agree with you. He knows you need the time, GP, and level baseline. Yeah, I do. I don't often verbalise it all in one breath. You end up with stuff like begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective, hijacking curve calculator if you have to qualify every little detail. But maybe Bev's better at doing that when it comes to geometry. On the other hand,
it's short, really. But you need a pencil. You need a pencil too.
I think you're overplaying.
Last sentence. In Godzilla's perception, based purely on his comment. I can only take that from it.
Yeah. But the problem is that Bev's statement, let's just take his statement of you can do F all with an angle, right? The only place that you could put that statement to make it make sense is in non-reality. There's nowhere in reality where that fits. There's nowhere in reality where that is applicable. So Bev is working in non-reality and trying to tell people it's reality. The statement is ridiculous. He doesn't have any humility to admit that it's stupid and wrong. I don't care why or who he originally said it to. It's wrong. So
but they leave out the word elevation.
It was me.
Yeah, but
it was me.
It doesn't matter. Just
Hold on,
angle
I'll just answer that. It was me that he originally said it to. When I went in and tried, like you've done, Brian, to explain to him how elevation angle works. And his response to me...
he said it originally to Ruhif, Nathan. Originally he said it to Ruhif.
No, he didn't.
He said it to me before you.
He said it to me.
Ruhif. He said it...
Oh, my God.
No, he said... He didn't. He said this to Ruhif.
Yeah, no, he did. He originally said it to me in response to me putting the elevation angle argument to him on his show, which he didn't publish. So while you might be unaware that this was originally put to me, and I didn't use it as a defence yesterday... Oh, we're still recording. Don't perceive this as me using this as a defence. It's not. It's not necessary either. Because I don't need to rely on it, and I can't prove it. But he originally put it to me. When I put the elevation angle argument to him, his response off the cuff was to blart out to me, you can do fuck all with an angle, while I'm telling him precisely what he can do with an angle. So that's where he originally put it to me.
No,
you're wrong.
That's wrong.
You're wrong.
No,
Nathan,
that's wrong,
I was on the show way before you.
Hang on, Nathan.
And he said it to me.
Yeah, he's been saying it for a long time, Nathan. This is not something new. This is well before you went on to the show. That's only a few months ago. He's saying this for ages. Yeah, this is not something new. But it doesn't matter when he started saying it. The point is,
Exactly.
is that doesn't, who cares? The point is that it's wrong. He's wrong. And anyone who follows him and tries to support him is wrong. So Godzilla is wrong. He doesn't understand. Try and put that into a realistic situation. Because look at the situation Godzilla detailed, where a teacher hands a student a 23-degree angle, right? No one's teacher is ever going to do that. He's going to say, do something with that. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to go, there's a 23-degree angle, class over. And the fact that he's making a 23-degree angle to give to the student is doing something with it. The professor is doing something with the angle he's after creating. So there's never, nobody standing out on beaches measuring angles for nothing. No one's doing that. You know, someone put Bev's example or Bev's statement into a real world example, not nonsense that doesn't happen, and you won't be able to do it. Remember, Bev learns about heliocentrism from Blue Marble Science. That should tell you all you need to know about it. Yeah.
And geometry from the rumpus. Listen, I'm just having some concerns. I'm raising a weathered eyebrow in Godzilla's direction. Like I said, I didn't copy the previous ones, but I seen him trying to undermine some stuff when Whitsitt was around too, and with quantum mechanics. So listen, Godzilla, if you want to tug on Superman's cake, Timmy, I'm going to smoke your ass. So come on in VC, right, in Discord tomorrow, set up an appointment, and we'll go over some of your comments.
Or alternatively, if you want to continue to have the conversation via Super Chat, that's also cool. I mean, obviously, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Smash the Super Chat.
Yeah, don't bite the hand that feeds you.
No. See, that's what makes this show great. It doesn't matter who's sending money. If you're in the wrong, you're in the wrong.
But you can just call out when somebody's wrong. Doesn't mean you have to like attack them or get paranoid about them.
Sorry, go.
You're going to be the Godzilla sympathizer now, Chuck.
Why not? Put me on the list. I don't care.
Yeah, me too.
Hit him with the wall, chocolate.
Y'all never came off.
Does Godzilla need sympathizing for? He's simping for Bev, not the other way around, right?
No, not really. He's just sticking up.
I don't know. Kiwi likes to put me on lists and shit.
He is simping for Bev. Sorry. Okay, let me just clear this up with Arwin. Right, in his super chat, he says, the teacher only gave you one single angle, say 23 degrees. Right, that's a really specific scenario where a teacher comes up to you and he's taken a piece of paper, got a protractor, drawn out an angle at 23 degrees, drawn it as 2 lines, and hands it to you as a piece of paper. Right? Now, in that scenario, when teacher comes up to you and puts down a 23-degree angle in front of you and then walks off, you could do nothing with it. I argue you could fold that into a paper aeroplane and throw it across the room. That would be doing something with it.
I was just going to say that.
Right? So you could definitely do something with this. But what he's trying to do is he's trying to narrow the argument down to a situation where you couldn't do anything with a specific angle. Yeah? To try and bolster Bev's position. Now, Bev's position is far more broad. You can do fuck all with an angle is Bev's overarching, broad, fuckwit statement that's completely benign, stupid, wrong, incorrect, whatever you want to call it. But if you try, you can say, nah, I can come up with a scenario for a specific angle that you couldn't do anything with. Yeah? And? What? Turn it into a paper airplane? Talk about it? Like we discussed with Bev? You're going to be doing something with it if you've got it. Otherwise, it's purposeless, right? But the point of the end bit, it being purposeless in this scenario, is to take away from the purpose we use angles for. In other words, undermine us.
Okay. So what does this have to do with Godzilla? I think he just...
That's his super chat. That's what it says.
Yeah, oh no!
He's undermining
us. He chose the wrong path. Oh, now he's doomed. He's going to do this every day. He's going to find our opponent. He's going to sympathize with him. He's against us.
Right, let me just try once more with Arwin. Right, when that guy who I shouted at unreasonable, Rob Keane guy, right, he was trying to do the same thing. He's trying to say, look, I've understood Bev because I've been listening for a year, and I've taken on board how he's nuanced this position. Now, Godzilla in this instance is trying to do the same. He's trying to nuance his understanding of Bev's position when Bev's qualified it. Presumably for many boring hours. But to the point where someone like Godzilla can...
He's a Bev-apologist. Okay.
The idiot straw man position.
Yeah, we've already covered this. We could just say, yeah, it's just simping for Bev.
Okay.
Oh, no. Well, that doesn't mean that he's going to be tenaciously doing that from now on. It's just that he had his response. It did. Look, guys, he's been listening. That show yesterday was super intense. Okay?
Godzilla, right? For $13.99, you can super chat whatever the hell you like.
Oh, I hope he continues. I hope he continues. Like I said, it's been a pattern. I'm going to say this for the third time. I've seen them before on other people's channels. It's not just this. On other people's channels that were undermining it. Now, some of them were sort of backhanded slights. It raised a weathered eye. It didn't promote me to go ahead and copy it and say, oh, I'm going after him. It's nothing like that. It's just something I've been noticing. But now this has been going on for about 6 to 8 months now. So it's not a recent thing. But I'm just saying, I'm very keen to terrorist sympathizers. And it raises a weathered eye, is all I'm saying.
So am I.
He's not a terrorist sympathizer. He's just a bit of a cheeky bastard. That's all.
Yeah, but he was lining up with Witcher too, back when we were having that debate with him. He was throwing in some schneid
He
remarks.
just likes to poke the situation sometimes. Okay, so that's what he does.
So you think he's trying to be our producers?
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, good analogy.
Yeah.
Bit of a stretch, but yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, that's fine. Like I said, that's fine. Like I said, if he wants to tug on Superman's cape, there's no problem with that. I have no issue with it, little Timmy. But you tug a little bit more, and turn around and smoke your ass. You understand that, son?
Also, smash the super chat to support this channel.
Chocolate. Am I misreading this, or am I just seeing somebody that's got an opinion that needs dealing with still? He's not. There's nothing nefarious. He's just, and he's even put it in a super chat. I don't see what's there. I just disagree with his point, and for some reason, he's trying to excuse this non-nuance that Bev's trying to make.
Because
I just disagree with that. That's all. There's no need to provide any of the aspersions. I don't see any other reason to think other than fundamentally he doesn't get the point we're making.
In the interest of balance, in the interest of balance, we should crucify Godzilla as an example to all of the super chats.
Well,
leave the koalas alone.
I think it's because what we don't see is that people spend a lot of time strawmanning us. And so to the people who don't watch this show because for whatever reason Nathan yelled at them or they're emotional over whatever reason or another, when these people come and say, do you know Nathan and them said this? This is what they're talking about. But what they're presenting isn't our arguments. And that's what I hear people do a lot until we're in the same room and then we question them. And then they start saying, oh, generally, I mean, I don't have a specific example right now, but yeah, that's what they all do.
Right.
But hey, guys, it's also like, like I wrote a few words down about the Angle poem. I might be getting a few things wrong when I write a poem, not against you guys, but some of my facts might not be correct, but it rhymes with the last word I wrote in the previous.
Jeez, what is that?
That's brilliant. It's called Poetic License.
Hey, poetic license. Yeah, hidden meanings and poetic licenses. You can get away with fucking murder.
Right.
Hey,
are you saying that Bev's a poet?
No. Bev is not a poet. I'm saying one deck has poetic license to do precisely what he just described. Take a liberty with something that's not quite accurate on account of the fact it rhymes or goes well with the timbre of the poem. That's different. Having a bit of poetic license to not quite get something correct simply because it sounds right is acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, I used an angle
poem.
cutting knife.
In a poem, yeah, in a poem.
Well,
yeah, you could do that. You can do that.
I do that.
I've done that in rap.
That's right.
Exactly.
All the time.
Exactly. In rap, in
my
music.
explanations, I do it in what I do on my show. I mean, I try to avoid it, right? Because I want to get things right. But sometimes you just have to quickly push it through, and then it's going to be slightly wrong.
No. Let me just address this. Let me just have Arwin. Ooh, that was a bad thing to say. No, that's where the line's drawn. When a poet has, quote, poetic license, that's acceptable. When you do it because you've got to push things along, that's bullshitting.
Yep.
Well, bullshit makes the ground go fertile, so...
It makes things slide along a little bit easier, doesn't it? A little bit of bullshit just greases the skids really nicely.
No, but... Sometimes you gotta improvise, and if you just
no, you haven't.
Do it perfect. Hold on.
I can't believe my ears. You were the one yesterday saying have some humility.
You don't necessarily expect, and then what do? Just be like, oh, I'm not gonna say anything because I can't do it perfectly, or you just go.
I can't believe my ears. I can't believe my ears. You were the one yesterday telling Bev that
oh
he
my
should.
God, you guys aren't.
I'm just getting rumpused. You were the one yesterday telling Bev that he should have humility. And just admit when he's wrong. Well, admit when you don't know something is no different. Just making up shit as you go along because you want to get things moving. That's just a bullshitter.
And as for getting rumpus, Darwin,
oh my God,
you deserve a thorough rumpusing after those statements.
Yeah, outrageous.
No, I never said to not correct myself, right? But if you're like in the middle of an explanation and you got a detail wrong, but you're in the middle of the explanation, right? And it's not foundational to the entire point necessarily. It's not a giant paradigm shift in that second once you realize it. You still got to move along because you got to finish it up. And then later you can correct it. And I always do that.
That's it. Oh
Just try
well,
and make it
maybe
rhyme,
you maybe you do,
try and
but
make
that
Hold on.
rhyme.
Yeah,
Who's
just
that?
let him wax philosophical about bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the
Well,
typical.
what do you
That's the
think your
typical.
food grows on? Okay.
That's the typical
That's
excuse
bullshit.
that. Yeah, that's the typical excuse that someone gives when they say, "Just let me finish." But typically, I'm not saying this is your deal, but typically, what they want you to do is forget that the premise that they're starting with is flawed from the beginning.
True.
That's what they want you to finish. You know, what you're detailing is a fallacy.
That's
Is
right.
it?
How many
Which is
times they say that,
Hold
Eli?
on.
Let me finish, right?
Hold on. That's not a fallacy.
no, a
Poetic
fallacy is nitpick. A fallacy is nitpicking versus
No, it's not.
what?
No, it isn't.
That's a fallacy.
No, it isn't.
Hold on. So if you
No,
have a
it's-
fallacy,
hold on.
The
but your overall,
fallacy.
Hold
if you
on.
have a
Let
fallacy,
Nathan tell
but
you. Let Nathan tell you what a fallacy is. He was just getting ready to.
okay.
Okay. I can't remember. I think a fallacy.
A fallacy is when you have a fallacy in your explanation, but it doesn't negate the premise or your overall conclusion.
That's right.
But the person who says that you're wrong and they dismiss everything you've said because they've identified that fallacy, that's a fallacy.
Right. In other words, that you could use a fallacy to try and prove something that is inherently correct. So if I use a fallacious statement to claim that my car is silver, now you just have to accept for this example that we're all stood by my silver car that I do actually have, funded by Patreon. Well, that car, I could use a fallacious argument now to prove that it's silver, and you could call me out as being fallacious in my reasoning and dismissing the argument, even though I don't think this is correct, even though that the premise is still actually true. I don't think that's fully correct.
No, it's not. Fallacy is claiming fallacy is just claiming that argument is wrong based on a fallacy. Now that's what a fallacy is, but that's not what we do. We void them.
Well, then just explain the
Wait,
fallacy
isn't that
one more
exactly
time.
what I just said though?
Sorry.
Yeah, pretty close.
Just
Okay, if that is what is a fallacy?
I want to hear it one more
fallacy?
time. I'm very tired. Just one more time.
Okay. Yeah. A fallacy is claiming that just because the argument has a fallacy in it, that the argument itself is wrong, is incorrect. No, but that's not what we do. We void those arguments. So that's the distinction between the two.
Now I know what a fallacy is. It's wrongly calling out a fallacy because your argument was actually broken and it was relevant, and so you misidentified it as a fallacy.
Oh, stop being fallacious.
I'll have to look up a fallacy because I
Trademark
still don't fully
Arwin,
understand it.
fallacy.
I'm sure I've explained what a fallacy is myself accurately in the past. I'm still not quite wrapping my head around it.
Yeah, you have. You're just tired.
I am. I'm exhausted.
I've heard you.
Go on, Owen.
No, that was Neil Rumpus in you.
Go on, Neil.
I just said I've heard you explain it before. Now that was one.
Good, Neil. Thank you. So the moral of the story is that people, even if you're chat skanking, there is a weathered eye watching, just to let you know. So I would be very, very careful. How are you?
When am I getting a warning? I've been chat skanking you for months.
That's just a fallacy. What the other thing is to get your words correct as well, and me as talking about writing poetry down. Yeah, words are very important. Get your words correct. Think them through. My dad always used to say to me, "Always think twice
That
before you
almost
do
sounded
anything."
like Mariam Schweitzer. Is she the one?
Miriam Schweitzer. No,
Mariam.
just Mary Schweitzer.
Mary. Is it Mary?
Yes.
Words have meaning. Choose your words carefully. Is that her?
Exactly.
Well,
yeah,
let me give you an example of someone choosing their words carefully. Yesterday, Bev was attacking the black swan, and he said that the disproving of the 3959 meant nothing because they have a variable radius. This is what he said. This is what he said. We have it recorded. A bit later on, towards the end of the show, Saragaki, his friend, comes in, right, and says there's a problem with the black swan, and it's the 3959. He says that at the start of the modus tollens, the 3959 is brought into it, but then at the end, it's excluded. Purposefully, he said. Now, that's not true. I remember the original Black Swan. Now, last night on Bev's show, Bev starts detailing the Black Swan modus tollens, and he shows a conclusion where the 3959 is not part of it. Now, I've sent QE some timestamps for 3 timestamps for him to listen to.
Oh, I'm not going to do that.
Well, I only said I do it because if you wanted, it'd only be like a couple of minutes if you wanted to clear that up. But it's been put out there that your modus tollens is, right? I'll give you the basics of it. That you created a modus tollens that goes like this. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then I'm going to say it's slightly different. Then then from a 1 foot observer height, the horizon can be no more than 1.23 miles away. So that's if P then Q, not Q. The horizon is more than 1.23 miles away from a 1 foot observer height. So not P. The Earth is not a globe. But that's not what was in your original Black Swan. You had it specifically that the Earth is not a globe of radius 3959 miles.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
I know it doesn't matter. I know.
Because they're not understanding. They're not understanding the argument because they're numpty dipshits. And somebody said it yesterday, I think it was Adam, that they just superficially look at things and don't take it all into account. Now, the way the argument reads, therefore the Earth is not a sphere sticks. Even though the 3959 is up there, you can put any number from 3959, 3960, 3961, all the way to 263,999 miles, 0.9 miles, and still be correct in that argument. You friggin' numpty dipshits, not the panel members.
I tried to explain that. I did try and level that at them and explain that even within the limited wiggle room that they cited in Wiki, it makes no difference up to, I said 250,000 miles, I just rounded it down. But yeah, exactly. I do say it the way that you posted. I was about to step in before QE's done it for me. Exactly. I say it the way that they printed it pretty much. If the Earth's a sphere, radius 3959, then every distance to horizon measurement can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. The distance to horizon in the Black Swan is beyond the geometric limitations of an Earth sphere radius 3959, therefore the Earth's not a sphere. That's how I say it. Now, whether or not it's right or wrong is irrelevant, because the premise is about the horizon.
It's actually right.
So wait a second. Bev wouldn't detail it yesterday on the show, but you're saying he detailed it on his?
Hold on. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. Neil is actually that's the point one of the points I'm getting to. So Neil is spot on there. No, anyone who says so the Earth is not a globe leaves it at that, even if they don't add in 3959. This is what they don't realise, and this is what they didn't listen to yesterday when I told them. Remember, Beth said, yeah, whatever, Brian. Remember he said that, brushing it off. Not listening. The globe Earth cannot have a radius greater than 3959 miles. or less than 3959 miles. It has to be 3959 for all the observations of the sky to be back calculated onto it. It can't.
Why do they think we use that? Did we just pick that number out of the sky?
Well, no, I know, but the point is that them jumping on that shows to someone who does know, like us, that they don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about. You're The point is that the globe can't have a radius any bigger or smaller than 3959 miles, if you know where the radius came from, because they're stuck with that number. So once that number is debunked, right? Well, once you show that number is incorrect, you don't need to add in the number at the end. You don't need it. You can, but you don't need to. The point is that it's not a fucking globe.
Brian's correct. Brian's correct in his statement there too.
Yes.
If you really think about it, like what is the globe? Well, the globe is not the Earth. So the globe, capital THEE, the globe is specifically a mathematical representation of what they claim the Earth is. That's always going to be specifically 3959. It's that they don't have different size globes.
Right. And Brian's trying to stress. Sorry, go ahead, Neil.
No, I'm just saying he's a dishonest bastard because when we asked him to detail it yesterday and go over it, he wouldn't do it. But Brian's saying he did it on his show. So he's a liar.
Yeah, I'm getting to that, though, Neil. Don't worry about it. We're getting to that. Don't worry. You're 100% correct, though.
I was just going to say, Brian's trying to stress the fact that the way that the globe has come to 3959 radius value is a back engineering of the elevation angle measurements to Polaris. So it's not a malleable thing. It has to be a one-to-one translation from the acquisition of those angles to the latitude lines on the globe. It can't be anything else. As soon as you break it, that's it. Yeah. It's game over. It can't change. So when they say it's got a variable radius, Brian's getting frustrated, and I can sense why, because he's saying that claim that they've accepted on behalf of bloody Blue Marble, which is pretty pathetic in itself, demonstrates that they don't have a comprehensive understanding of why debunking 3959 obliterates the globe, because they don't understand the necessity for it to back calculate into angles on maps. They don't understand that. So therefore, it demonstrates their lack of their complacency. That's what it demonstrates.
Well, what about the guy that said the best we've done was debunk the radius? He didn't understand it either, because everything relies on that. Everything in the sky is going to... You can't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Sensible didn't know the implications of his very useful quote. At best, you've debunked the radius. Once the radius is debunked, it's not like, oh, right, well, I'll just insert a new one. Oh, I'll get a new one. No. It must be that value to back calculate it onto a sphere Earth. And when you do the back calculation for the black swan, it's at 250,000 miles. So again, back to QE's point, it doesn't matter what value you insert from 3959 up to 250,000 miles. All of them would be debunked by the black swan and the assertion in modus tollens. So you don't have to assert it.
I've always had a problem.
But Dev didn't even get the part, that was blatantly obvious as he didn't understand that it has to be that specific radius in order for the whole celestial system to work in lockstep. He didn't understand it, even after we explained it.
Exactly. Yeah, he didn't understand it. That was obvious. That's what Brian's getting pissed at, and he's right to.
Brian's right. He dismissed it.
Well, what happened? Let me just point out the timeline. He starts talking about how debunking the 3959 doesn't matter because they have a variable radius. Now, that tells you what he knows about geometry. If he's thinking a radius can vary. Do you know what I mean? When a radius is a measurement of something that is an actual shape. Do you know what I mean? A circle or a sphere. It's a radius. It's set. It is what it is. But besides that,
because they're claiming a hamburger spheroid, so you do have
Yeah, but he said
maximum.
variable. He said a variable radius.
Yeah,
which
you
I
have.
understand
Yeah,
that, but they're
yes.
wrong as well, Adam. I know, but they're wrong as well.
Hold on, let Brian get to the end of his point. Then I think
point.
Adam's got a slightly different point. But yeah, you just didn't want to pick it up at that point. Go
Adam's
ahead, Brian.
making about the oblate spheroid, but Adam's not wrong to say that. But what I'm saying is they're wrong to say that because they can't have an oblate spheroid because then all their observations to Polaris won't work. That's the problem, and the latitude and longitude grid won't fit on the globe, so they can't have an oblate spheroid. That's some nonsense they're making up. They're adding. It's just a cushioning for their spin claim, for their rotation claim. That's what it is, a cushioning for that. But either way, right, the point I'm making is Bev started saying it doesn't matter if you debunk 3959 because they have a variable radius, right? Now, I got to correct him on that. He dismissed what I told him, right? And part of the reason he dismissed it is because I brought up elevation angles, right? So he dismissed the whole lot, didn't listen to it. He said, yeah, very good, Brian, or something like that. And Nathan, you called him out on it. He said, no, and I said he just walked away from it, just because dismissed it. Then a while later, Saragaki is saying that we didn't debunk the 3959 because we purposely left it out at the end in the if the not peace statement, left out the 3959, right? And then last night on Bev's show, he's talking about the Black Swan like a man Saragaki, completely contradicting what he claimed earlier in the day, and making it obvious that he completely ignored the correction that I gave him. So he's provably totally a fucking liar, but also provably an idiot. In both instances.
If the end of the Black Swan, the Modus Tollens, doesn't debunk the globe of 3959 miles, what is it debunking then?
Well, what would QB put the number 3959 in?
That's what I'm saying.
He would say the number, but the thing is, it's the number that represents the globe that is with the radius of 3,009. Every time you say globe, we're to assume that we're not talking about the radius for the globe representation, quote unquote, in the classroom. So the only globe people are talking about when they say the word globe is the one that has 3959. There is no other globe.
Exactly. It's the one on screen now. So when you're going to try and explain the horizon being beyond the thing that it's supposed to be limiting, you come up with an explanation like this. Now, this doesn't still satisfy the Black Swan, but nevertheless, that's how they're explaining it, with a refracted horizon. But they're basing the refraction value on the mathematics of an Earth sphere radius 3959. It's marked in this diagram as C to G. That's their radius value. So what you've got to base the maths on it for everything and back engineer it onto the Earth if you're going to navigate with it and claim that you're navigating on a sphere. You've got to back engineer all of your maths onto the maps that you're using and the latitude lines that they've come from, which came from elevation angles to a flat Earth. The moment it was mentioned by Brian, as he's just pointed out, Bev went, yeah, well, nice one, Brian, I think is what he said.
Don't work with any other number, baby.
Yeah, he was dismissal of it.
Did Adam add something? I think Adam wanted to add something.
Not really. It was just a minor point. I know what he's saying there because this is what they always go to. It's just like a geometric statement. And if you're discussing an ellipse or an oblate spheroid, then you have a thing called a maximum and a minimum R value, which as the rate of curve changes, everything varies between those two. That's what defines the nature of the ellipse, the maximum minimum R. It's a mute point he's arguing on. It's a bit like when the ballers do it. They make a statement of truth, but it's kind of not related, as Brian explained.
So it's not a red herring then.
Well, yes, there's also a misunderstanding because they actually can't have an oblate spheroid. There is no way, because of the longitude lines having to meet at the base of their north geographic pole to their south geographic pole. That means they have to meet, which means that they have a radius in the first place, and for them to actually meet And for all the main thing is for all the latitude lines to be equally spaced apart. Their globe can't be an oblate spheroid. The oblate spheroid claim comes from them claiming that it rotates. So due to the centrifugal force, it has become an oblate spheroid. But that would destroy the latitude positions.
It's a derived idea. Right?
Yeah, based on another.
It's not part of the original model.
Okay, so let me get this clear.
So it would have to be like this.
So you're saying it's secondary rhetoric as opposed to the mathematical necessity to translate it at 3959, which is unwavering. You can't do it any other way. It has to be that number. But if you're going to just make up some rhetoric and grease the skids of some other bullshit story you're telling, well, in that story, it's an oblate spheroid, like with a lot of nonsense that doesn't actually comport with their maths. It's part of the story. It might be official rhetoric, but you can turn around to them and point out how it doesn't even work within their own maths because it has to be a fixed value to get it to work with Polaris and the maps.
Yeah, it has to be a shape.
You can't apply too many really is influences about your model to the model because then it doesn't work anymore.
What oblate spheroid? Every picture of Earth I've been shown as the globe looks like a perfect sphere. So why are they claiming it's an oblate spheroid when that's not what they're showing us?
You just can't notice it, mate. You can't notice it. Just believe what they're telling you.
According to Brian, it's so they can bullshit with spin. So it's just, sometimes they deliberately could deviate from their own rhetoric with some bullshit to introduce other bullshit. Well, in this case, Brian's suggesting that it's because they want to introduce the force of Earth spinning, making it a bit more chubby at the bottom, as Tyson described it when he was interviewed.
Yeah, it's more. He actually was wrong as well because it's not more chubby at the bottom. An oblate spheroid is wider at the equatorial circumference.
Then why don't we see it?
But hang on, because none of it is real. But the point is that the oblate spheroid is not their geometry. The oblate spheroid is based on and it's claimed to be an effect due to the rotation, centrifugal force. That's their claim, and they claim the same about the moon and other things.
Right,
Anything
because it wouldn't make any
rotating.
sense with the shadows of the sun anymore. Then all that, right?
Well,
it can't be that oblate because then the shadow system of Aristophanes will start to deviate.
That's a good point.
Well, yeah, look at the moon phases. The moon phases would show an oblate shadow, if it was within their model. Not saying that the moon phases are caused by their model, but I'm just saying within their model how they explain moon phases. But it doesn't matter because none of it matters because the geometry, right, that they must adhere to has to be a perfect sphere because the latitude and longitude grid won't fit. None of it will work.
Right.
It's only a secondary claim that's not part of their geometry. So anyone who brings up their oblate spheroid claim is talking. It means they don't understand it.
Exactly. They have no clue, right, Brian?
Okay.
They're not getting it.
John and Adam.
It's the more contemporary little tricksy that, Neil deGrasse Tyson brought forth. It's his thing. I mean, everybody associates pear-shaped with him. I've never really heard other people reference it unless they were referencing Neil deGrasse Tyson. Have you?
Sure, I'm sure you could dig it out. I know it's part of their actual rhetoric. I don't think it's just Tyson saying that. Anyway, Adam and John, if Adam's around. He's been waiting for ages. If he has, probably not.
No, I spoke. Thanks.
Go ahead. Oh, you spoke?
No,
okay.
I said a bit about ours, yeah.
Okay.
Ours, John.
John, you were trying to get a word in. You can have the last word.
Which John?
Can I have the last word?
Refracted curvature. Unless he's disappeared, which he may have. In which
case.
I
was just gonna tell you guys, it's been great. I'm gonna take a good hiatus from the subject for a bit, and
whoa. Why?
Well, it's just personal reasons. I got some stuff in my life I need to work on, but it's been great talking to you guys. It really has.
Hopefully we'll see you again sometime.
Yeah,
man.
Debbie Downer.
I miss you, John.
Yeah, we will.
An important
Take care, man.
You've given us some fantastic material, John.
We'll see you after it, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too. That's going to be the very sad note that we round out on, though. So with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to my Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. An extra special thank you to Refracted Curvature John for his dulcet tones that he's offered over all of these many, many months that he's been on our panel. Maybe we will see him again. But another massive thank you to all of you. Smash the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, join as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!